So this is Kylie J.N.S. from Nakhti University. Happy Friday. And so I hope you guys had a great week filled with love, joy, and peace and all those good things. And I have to say, I am excited about this topic. It's going to be a heavy one. We're going to be discussing like the concept of energy harvesting or energy vampirism from a human and spiritual perspective or interdimensional perspective. And we're going to actually be talking about like how interdimensional beings of certain frequencies view the concept of energy harvesting as eusocial resource allocation and energetic processing colony level trophylactic resource processing. So I do have to forewarn people or those who, not necessarily forewarn, but give a disclaimer to those who may be viewing the video and for playback value that this is going to be a 45D teaching, meaning that I am aware that there are advanced humans on this planet that operate at around the 45th dimension in consciousness, and they are they pretty much that there's a group of interdimensional beings that are human, right? That view this planet as like a social experiment. So they pretty much see it as a space to do scientific research, um in terms of observing humanity, observing the human race, and observing even the relationship between spiritual beings who are interdimensional in their interactions with humans, as well as like the energetic exchange that humans do with one another in terms of how the system itself has to, if in a closed system, the planet Earth is a closed system when you think of the laws of thermodynamics. And so since their system is closed, there always has to be like this balance of energy, like in terms of heat that comes into the system and the work that's done on the system. And for scientists of 45D, who especially of the GIA, we see that as odd. We don't think the system has to be closed. And so we're trying, there's a group of scientists that want to understand when we talk about like the idea of energy harvesting, sacrifice, that concept, from it's rooted pretty much in your laws of thermodynamics. And I have to say, um, the laws, in our opinion, are botched, and we're trying to understand why is there such a concerted effort to keep the system closed in terms of like energy cannot be created or destroyed, only converted from one form to another. Energy can be created, and then that just from the fact that if just study the laws of electromagnetism, but also just the way a human being can procreate, that is energy being created. If two humans can come together, you know, excuse my French, but dick, pussy, you come together, and certain heat is produced, the energy is produced, egg gets fertilized, baby comes 9 months later. That is a new form of energy. And so that baby is a living organism who would also consume energy and be energy. And so we don't understand why would you have your first law of thermodynamics say that energy cannot be created? Energy can be created. For one, it can be destroyed. Not in that sense, but it's not necessarily destroyed. It is usually converted from one form to another. So in that sense, we understand that part. Like energy can't be destroyed, and be converted from one form to another. And so I would say that portion is correct. But in the system, in a closed system on planet Earth, there's a change in internal energy. It equals the heat added to the system minus the work done by the system on its surroundings. And so, for example, a light bulb converts electrical energy into light and heat energy, but the total energy remains constant. And so for us, we're trying to wrap our mind around that idea. The energy remains constant. obviously we know the second law of thermodynamics is the total entropy of an isolated system always increases over time. I think that the definition of entropy in terms of like disorder or randomness, for us, we don't see that as entropy. We see entropy as a form of chaos intelligence, which ingredients consist of melanin, we call it dark energy, as well as consciousness, and this essence of like it's like black goo, so to speak, which would consist of the divine feminine. But it's that when we say chaos, we have different definitions of chaos. And so there's a confusion around that. We don't have the same definition of entropy nor chaos. Entropy is not a bad thing to us. It's something to be organized. It's not something to be lowered. And so natural systems move towards a entropic state based on its probability distribution. And so when you guys say systems move towards a more disordered state, it's not disorder to us. That would be the chaotic state, but chaos is not a bad thing in our world, and chaos is not the same definition that you guys have. I noticed there's a concerted effort to make chaos a very negative thing on this planet. But that's why your systems are closed. That means that people can't get free. That means people can't leave the quote unquote derma urge. And there's people teaching lies about my tribe and our ideas of the derma urge. The Lion of Judah is not the derma urge. In fact, we fight against that. We were the ones, scientists, that studied what is this concept of the derma urge, which is equivalent to like the metaverse today. And so we are the ones that were always trying to open up the system. Okay, your laws of thermodynamics close your system, makes chaos a bad thing, and gives you a fucked up definition. Say it means disordered, and then it's designed pretty much. It traps consciousness or it traps energy, in our opinion. And so we've always been the ones to challenge these laws of thermodynamics, to defy physics. That's why our bloodline gets hunted and targeted by the government. So notice that this teaching that the Lion of Judah is the derma urge, it is a lie. It is false. We don't understand why people. We know that there's a person with a top secret security clearance that's part of the government that is going around spewing that and teaching that to Black people, and it is precisely because the government is scared to death of what us as spiritual beings know, as far as the revelation of the tribe, the awakening of the tribe. And the Lion of Judah is a epigenetic mystery science for a small group of people, point blank, period. That's pretty much it, as well as a tribute to what we would see as a fallen soldier or a brother that was set up and killed by a secret society. It is a tribute into understanding that we are of the world, not of the, we're in the world, but we're not of the world. And we are to overcome the world, which is precisely overcoming the derma urge. And so that is our teaching. Is obviously the rest would be secret. Anything that is written down, it would be designed for us to be able to decode and for to send outsiders into a complete rabbit hole. Anything that is written down, we would want you to know the true sciences of the Lion of Judah is not written down. No one in their right mind would write it down. And let's see, the Royal Deluxe, I'm reading that section right now, chapter 22 to 23 of Alternative. Oh, wow. And Royal Deluxe is in the building. We appreciate you. Well, I'm glad to see you. So I'm curious as to what you think, because Royal Deluxe is well educated in these things, and in many ways I learned from him, and so I'm grateful to see him in the building. I have to say, so he might be one of them 45D beings. But when we talk about like opening up the systems, that is what will be able to free humanity, or to free, when we talk about getting out of the derma urge. Yeshua was actually teaching people how to astral project. Or we saw this Christ, someone is literally teaching the opposite of what, because they want people away from the information. They got to keep people away from studying it on a deep level. And what Yeshua was doing was open it up, like giving an epigenetic mystery science, not all of it, but giving humanity enough to where they could get out of the Dharma urge, so to speak, through understanding the kingdom of God within, opening up the, going through the Kundalini awakening, opening up the pineal gland, doing the meditations, astral projecting, those type of things. Yeshua was actually teaching that if you look through the parables for what it is. Now, I do have to say there is some teachings that, are coded even for him. There's a group of priestesses who were actually studying, wondering if, okay, is he a fallen angel, or was he a 125D angel, a Nagas, or was he one of the 33 that came down? To be honest, I still don't know, so I can't speak on that. It's interesting though. It's interesting to see like the debate around it. It was not even so much a debate, because these are women are not concerned with like the competing of the information. It was really like someone did a deep dive into like, okay, was he a fallen angel, or was he, like, and again, it was just a debate. It was just an argument that they had, and it was interesting. But that's one of the reasons why he came under fire, because it was like the teachings that to the parables that he was given, that was pretty much the precursor to opening up the system, to changing the laws of thermodynamics. That is what got him on the radar. And obviously what they would say, oh, you're blasphemy because you're saying you're the son of God, you're saying you're God, you're saying you're coming at the laws, the Pharisees, the Sadducees. This is not someone that is promoting the Dharma urge. That is clearly and the Lion of Judah never promoted the Dharma urge. It's like when we think of a lion, yes, there is a monarchy component of that believes in our royal bloodline, the royalty of our bloodline, and the legitimacy and authority of leadership. But that has nothing to do with trying to force our will on people or have that colonizer spirit. Yes, there is some people in that bloodline that had the colonizer spirit. But if you're following in the footsteps of the Yeshua archetype, you would know that those are the things that you would evolve from. You would evolve from the ego. You evolve from going along to get along. You challenge the status quo. You challenge the system. You're willing to stand on the truth to the end. You're willing to go within and awaken those processes within. And again, it is coming from more of the Shakti Agora school of thought. A lot of people don't understand it. Again, that's where we don't talk about those things, but the codes are there for those who are smart enough to put it together. The teachings are already out there, his teachings, but if you put it together in terms of, obviously there was a concerted effort to reverse engineer a lot of these things to hide Miriam Magdalene's influence, the fact that he taught her how to astral project because it's easier for women to astral project. All of those things, it was just like all this stuff became hidden. But I do want to say again, the laws of thermodynamics is what's closing your system. That is what's actually creating a Dharma urge, so to speak. And so we were always trying to challenge it. That's why I've come under fire so much, because it's like, okay, you're opening up a system. What does that mean for the overlords, or the rulers that stole information, that are imposturing an identity, who's trying to keep planet Earth in a psychotic, low frequency, who wants to track the energy of humanity, who wants to time loop humanity, who wants them to go into a technocratic surveillance, who wants them to enslave themselves, who wants them to not know the science. That is what we're fighting against, to be honest. And our tribe has always kind of maintained a secret identity until now. And some people are still remaining in secret, probably very much to their intransigence in terms of intelligence and in terms of it's probably the right thing to do. But some of us are out in the open. What that means for us, we're going to take the hits, a lot more hits than the average person, but we have enough protection for those that decided to stay secret. And just higher dimensions, or the most high, as people say. We have enough protection to ride it out. But the third law so again, to go back to the second law of thermodynamics, we don't see randomness or disorder as a bad thing. We would say that has to be organized, and it gets continuously organized. It does continuously expand, but it continuously organizes itself, and that's what planet Earth is. The people that are ruling planet Earth, they are scared of that. The Masons, they are scared to come out of the angles. They're scared to come out of that. They don't, because it's like, okay, that's what they call chaos, and it's like, for us, that's just simply not a bad thing. And we do look at it as a component of chaos intelligence, which is different than chaos magic. Those are two different things. Chaos intelligence does not require chaos magic, to be honest. Those who have naturally chaos intelligence usually go on to create magic systems, such as the Cometian pantheon or the Hindu pantheon. Those type of beings go on to create the systems. Even Yeshua creating his IPU. Mahavira creating his IPU, Siddhartha Gautama creating their IPU. It's coming from this complete break in consciousness where people will say, "Oh, you coming off like you're in psychosis or you're a narcissist." You know how some of the teachings, like even when they say, what is this? Let me go because let me go look it up, because one of these teachings where it says those who try to, is that Matthew 10? Let's see. Someone, let's see. I need to see if that's the one. Okay. I see you got like sheep among wolves, therefore be a shoot of snakes as innocent as doves. Brother, okay, that's the target individual program. I'm not looking for that verse. Okay, anyone who loves the father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves the son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up the cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. This me, this me, I am curious as to, let me look this up, because I intuitively know that that is supposed to translate into enlightenment or kingdom of God within. So whoever put this in there had a concerted effort or agenda. And so we're trying to understand me. Let me just look this up in Hebrew. Let's see. I am that I am. Okay, swish C is a play on I am. Okay, so somebody coded this, I guess, to hide the true meaning. Let's see. It's here to ask a person's identity as a function to whoever. Okay. I'm still need to do some research on this, but I do know that that is supposed to translate into a form of kingdom of God within or enlightenment. That I just know intuitively. I don't need anyone to tell. I don't need a book to tell me that. I just know from reading that, and just from the quantum entanglement. It was clear as day. Like, okay, anyone who welcomes you. Let's see. Let's go back to it. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than enlightenment is not worthy of enlightenment. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than enlightenment is not worthy of enlightenment. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow enlightenment is not worthy of enlightenment. Whoever finds their life will lose it. And that's usually talking about like the deal system, those who wanted to preserve their life and focus on like, well, I gotta just, because at this time is when the targeted individual program was ramping up. And whoever loses their life for the sake of the kingdom of God within will find it. So whoever can walk away from the Babylonian contract law system, that what for the sake of enlightenment or for my sake or Christ consciousness, will find it. But you got to understand what the code of Jesus is, and as far as the secret society in France who hid that, that's coming from the Saint Bernard energy, the energies of Sarah Lacali, and that whole cult. That's a little too deep, and I don't want to be giving out all of that, which I think I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for giving out all of that. I don't see that as a big deal. I think people who ever want to just look at it as the word me and take it literal, then I think that's fine. I'm not telling people what to believe or what to do. I just know that when I read that, instantly my mind translated that to enlightenment instantly. Like, I just know, I'm like, who put that in there? Because again, this bloodline understands, the sort of quantum entangled state that we have even with each other, but through the epigenetics and even through the parallel universes and through wherever those energies go, even after death. And so that to me, when I see it doesn't make any, this person would sound like a narcissist. Like, let's be real, they would fit the textbook, or someone as have in psychosis. That's not the case though. Many times when you go through that awakening, you have those moments where you think, or you come off, sounding berserk so sometimes. But if one is able to continue the process of the awakening and not killed or not set up or deal with too much COINTELPRO, they'll be able to work through and grow through those machinations. And unfortunately, Yeshua was killed before the full process of the awakening took place, even within that bloodline, because it is a process and it does take years. And so me reading this instantly, I could tell he was in those beginning stages of his awakening. Very powerful. I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't who he said it was. I'm saying that it's clearly someone of the bloodline in the tribe of Judah who is in the beginning of those awakening stages, and organizing entropy, so to speak, organizing the entropy within consciousness itself, or the chaos intelligence, rather. That's what it looks like to me. And you said I have to get the next two. I have thoughts about the octave and vibration sections. Cool. So what are your thoughts on the octaves? What do you? My thing is, I'm curious to know how other people understand octaves, just to see if, because I was octaves in music and frequency and sound. So what's your thoughts on octave, or what do you know? Because when I say octave, I'm literally talking about a frequency of essence, knowing that we are all energy, or all a conception of sound vibrating at a certain density plus dimension. So that's how I take it. But I'm curious to learn more, because it helps me in my growth, because like I said, I'm still only 3 years in my awakening, so obviously I'm gonna have so much. Okay, so to you it's archetypes. Okay, I could dig that. I could see how it's archetypes. I could see. Let me look up. Or you can give me your definition of archetypes, but I'm about to look it up too, because that, again, this stuff helps me grow. Okay, pattern of behavior. Right. Okay, I could definitely dig that. I think that's how I was kind of seeing it too. It was frequency and the vibration, but that's kind of like the precursor to the archetype. But the archetype is the formation, so to speak. The actual pattern, the behavior, the character, the image that recurs in myths and stories in the human psyche. Okay, the collective unconscious. We could definitely see that. I think when I was saying octave, what it says octave, I guess to me is not the exact same thing as the archetype that we say. Like if I say I'm the archetype of Yeshua, I'm not saying we're the same. I'm saying it's an octave, so it's kind of like a different frequency. Obviously, I'm a female, so it's like there's still this octave of this different. It's the same archetype, but a different energetic output, so to speak. Different frequency, but yes, it's the same archetype. Okay, I get that. I like that. I like that. I like that. Like same feeling celebrities. Right. Right. So that's dope. And so, like, I had to say, I kind of got off a topic there. Let me see. I want to cover the third law of thermodynamics. The entropy of a perfect crystal at absolute zero is exactly zero. A system's temperature approaches absolute zero. Its entropy approaches a constant minimum value. Okay. I guess what I want to know is, what is the productive value of the third law? Like, why do you want or need a perfect crystal? And that's what makes me kind of, that's the Dharma urge to us. So that's something that we don't understand. What is the productive value of wanting the perfect crystal to be at absolute zero is exactly zero, or wanting the entropy to approach a constant minimum value? I think that's how they keep, like people at the 3D, or then they can move it on to 4D or 5D at will, when they want to, when the overlords want to. And what we're saying is, like, for us, like, okay, honestly, third law of thermodynamics, I don't see what's the productive value of that. The first law, we do think that energy can be created. We know that just from human beings procreating. Energy can't be destroyed. It does get converted from one form or another. Things can't. Yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to think. Even at the highest levels, even if you go to a black wormhole, you would still be it's still not destroyed. Energy, even if you have to go through a black wormhole, your energy is still not destroyed. And then the second law of thermodynamics, the total entropy of an isolated system always increases over time. It's true, such as the universe, but it's not isolated. And I know it may be offensive. Like, who are you to just tell us that our laws of thermodynamics is wrong? It's not isolated. And it does increase over time. It's not, we don't call it a disordered state or random. It's more so probability distribution that gets organized. And that's how we would see it. And then the chaotic state is a state that even some beings enjoy, because that's where they can fully create. Like, say you have a Tahuti, or you have Anubis, not so much, but we know even a Yeshua will enjoy that. A lot of women, a lot of the chaos intelligence, like because like now you get to deal with melanin, you get to deal with that dark energy consciousness, and it's all chaos. So it's like some people like that state because that's where they create thought systems, thought forms, IPUs, magic systems, philosophies, inventions. Inventions is a big one. Like, I have an invention book. I had a kid, I raised a kid, I still got his invention book, like, where I would sit him down, have him do some meditations, and then come up with as many inventions as possible in, like, say, 10 minutes to 20 minutes and whatnot. And so when we talked about in the Nakhti philosophy, the Gisa Mama meditation was the meditation on dark energy. That's that process, when you walk through the steps of just tapping into the chaos intelligence, the melanin, the dark energy, then it expands the consciousness. Now, I would say only highly evolved beings should be doing that, because I don't want nobody going crazy or blaming me for they having not understanding what's going on. So, people have to understand their bloodline and or be comfortable with their self, and trust the process of love, and not use the science to try to reverse engineer it or harm, or because it's a frequency based science. So if someone is trying to use it to get at the person that created it, or to reverse engineer it, or to try to see who they can usurp or get to a dimension with a gatekeeper, then there is a possibility where someone can go crazy or have a spiritual psychosis or something, and not come back. And so I think that once the frequency is right and there's a match in those states of Gisa Mama meditation, and tapping into that entropy, or the chaos intelligence, that's where that, as far as, like, say, for inventors, like even myself, like I know for a fact that if someone was to if I was to do a meditation for 30 minutes and then say, give us 10 inventions within the next 5 minutes, I know I could do it off the dome with no problem, and have multiple of those inventions be functional, and something that could probably be brought to the market. It's because of organizing the entropy, organizing the probability distribution, and using that process of this superconductor of the intelligence, even of melanin and dark energy, which is the divine feminine and consciousness, to create something pretty cool. And then I'm trying to think, there was another ingredient, it's something with the essence of water. Again, these are highly advanced topics for 45D beings. Like I said, there are humans on your planet that are literally like scientists. They're like spiritual scientists who are studying human conceptions of, like this closed system that you guys have, your laws of thermodynamics. Why do you guys engage in blood sacrifice? There are people that are literally studying, why is your system built on, if someone must go up before someone can go down, so in order for someone to go up, someone else must come down. Scales have to be balanced. Like, all these things are wondering, like, especially like when it comes to like the obsession with the haves and have-nots, or capitalism, or this obsession with ego. If we don't have this conception of prestige or this money, and we make sure that other people get locked out and they stay down, like it's literally a group of spiritual scientists that are trying to understand what is going on down here. Like, why is it that way? Like, what is the rationale for it? And so one of the things that we've realized is that, okay, the laws of thermodynamics is wrong. Is it purposeful though? Or is it just somebody just didn't understand something? Starting to lean towards more it's purposeful. especially when we think of like, you know, this technocratic surveillance, this metaverse, this derma urge, the targeted individual program, how COINTELPRO works to not only like, it's not even about going after revolutionaries, it's like going after spiritual people that's trying to astral project, people that's trying to raise their frequency. That is how we know it's being done purposeful. And so now we want to talk about the concept of energy harvesting or energy vampirism from a human perspective. And then we're going to talk about it from the interdimensional perspective in terms of us studying both human and Nagas beings, or both humans and the other spirit interdimensional beings that's on the planet. So you guys heard about the show Dark Crystal, and let me go and I actually watched the show. I had like 2 episodes to watch. You know, let me see that show pulled up real quick. So Dark Crystal, the Dark Crystal, they had this show. I think this was a movie at one point. I could be totally wrong on that, but let me see if I can get the plot. Let me see. See, they give you the plot per episode, but I would just like the plot in general. Let's see. Let's see. So I know they had a video game, but if I just want to at least read you the plot, and I want to keep it short, you know. Let's see. Okay, so what it is, there was a 1982 film called The Dark Crystal that explores the world of Thra created for the original film. So they got a new updated version, I believe, on Netflix that I was watching. And so it follows a story of 3 young Geflings, Ryan, Deet, and Bria, as they journey together on a quest to unite the Gefling clan to rise against the tyrannical Skeksis and save their planet Thra from a destructive blight known as the Darkening. This would be Ryan, and Deet, and Bria would be kind of like, you know, the Lion of Judah trying to unite the Gefling clan to rise against the tyrannical Skeksis. And so it premiered on August 30th, 2019, as well as a show, but it was canceled after 1 season, which I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised they canceled that. On the planet Thra, 3 Geflings, they inspire a rebellion after discovering a horrifying secret behind their customary worship rulers, the Skeksis, that threatens their entire planet. And see, I'm not shocked that they canceled this shit after 1 season, because they was giving out some heavy game, and I remember watching it. Like, I remember watching it clear as day. Let me get a synopsis of this, because they still not giving you notice. They not really giving you the synopsis. Okay, so they were raised by the noble race called the Mystics that have been told that he is the last survivor of his own race, the Geflings. He sets out to try to find a shard of the Dark Crystal, a powerful gem that once provided balance to the universe. And so the Dark Crystal would be like melanin. After the crystal was broken, the evil Skeksis used sinister means to gain control. Jin believes that he can repair the Dark Crystal and bring peace back to the world if he can only find the remaining shard. See, that's still not the full synopsis. Damn, let me get let me see if I can find a better version. See, yeah, they really don't want to tell, like, because they was using the Geflings for their energy, pretty much. You know, the Skeksis was this noble alien race of humanoids. We see the energy. So they arrived through via energy portal and possessed advanced technology that appears as if they have magical powers. When the crystal cracked during an event called the Great Conjunction, they were divided into 2 species, the Skeksis and the Mystics. Okay, there we go. So the Skeksis were the ones that were doing the bullshit. You know, and like Royal Deluxe said, it's a very esoteric show. Very esoteric show. Let me see what else you said. You said, and they can fake, like you said, imposter deity. Right, imposter deity. In Shadow Side of the same character. Right. Very esoteric. Yep. And so trying to, okay, so they had 2, once the crystal cracked during an event called the Great Conjunction, they were divided into 2 species, the Skeksis and the Mystics. So the Skeksis are the villains in the Dark Crystal. This race of creatures resemble a cross between vultures and lizards, with toothy beaks, tails, and 2 pairs of arms, although only 1 pair is functional. they have declared themselves the Lord of the Dark Crystal, controlling the castle where the castle was kept and practicing their dark arts. They despise the Geflings and drain them of their essence. So this is what's happening to the Lion of Judah and to humans in general. They are draining humanity. The overlords, these people that are claiming to be your rulers and the elites, they are draining. And they're usually going after those with the dark crystal, the melanin, or even if you have an open pineal gland. So here are the mystics. Mystics are also guardians. I guess that would be where the Nagas 123 mixture with 125 mixture with 33. That would be this group. The mystics, also known in Europe, were the other species created when the Yurskrik split up. They are a wise, gentle race who took on the sorrows of Thra. There we go. They have, see, the mystics will be like the Lion of Judah then. Like I misspoke. And the Geflings will be like humanity, but believe it or not, there are a mixtures even between mystics and Geflings. And I'm saying if you were to look at it in today's and actual the real world, I'm just giving you an explanation how some of the humans are at mixture now in the real world. But just, if you watch the show, then you're able to still follow where I'm going with it. But the mystics, they are a wise, gentle race who took on the sorrows of Thra. They have reptile-like features, long tails, long hair, 2 pairs of functional arms, and wrinkled skin etched with symbolic patterns. There's also the Potlings. They're a simple race that lives in the forest of Thra. They are kind-hearted and love dancing and singing in nature. Remember, you have different species down here. You have Lemurian and human in the real world. You have Lemurians, you have Pleiadians, you have people that are hiding, and they're looking even human, but they're interdimensional. That means they're spiritual and they can access different dimensions. When the Skeksis believe they exterminated the Geflings, the Potlings are enslaved and drained of their essence. See? That's what's happening to humans. Agra was born from the rocks of Thra and is the only creature of her species. She is short with spiral horns and 3 eyes, while 2 of her eyes were blinded from the energy released when the Yurskriks arrived on Thra during the Great Conjunction. Her 3rd eye still has sight and can also be removed. Knowledgeable on matters of science and spirituality, she observes the movements of planets from her observatory. If you can't just wait, okay, so that's just that. So, but you see how they were draining the Geflings of their essence. Okay, and so there was mystics, there was Skeksis and mystics. They seem to be, they were split into 2 species, but they seem to be on some level the same species. At least they would share the same DNA or the same epigenetics, and so that's what you see even now. The Skeksis and the mystics. Okay, I'm trying to think. Okay, I just want to read that again. Where when the crystal cracked, they were divided into 2 species, the Skeksis and the mystics. Okay, there we go. Interested because again, this is an esoteric show, so there is a lot of codes in here, like the show. And again, when we think back to humans and humanity, there is a group of people on this planet that is after the dark crystal or the essence within certain humans, some more than others, but humanity in general, but some more than others. Like they feel like humans have a certain finite amount of energy or light within them, and they try to get people to sell that energy, usually through selling a soul for money. That could be through a contract or even through sex. And so they're exchanging the energy of humans, and it drains them. And humans are heart-based. They're not necessarily mental based, though they do have this thing with heart and mind coherence. But when you think of like dragons or like a reptilian based species, even some of the 45D humans who are admixed, because 45D humans are admixed. They look like humans, they act like humans, they have hearts, they procreate, they do everything like a human does, but they are more mind based. They don't have the same type of emotions that a human that is not 45D would have. These are some of the humans that are admixed with the Atlantean DNA. A lot of them are very scientific minded. They are very emotional. They're very logical, not emotional, and they think of things in terms of utility, but in a logical sense. So they don't have like this need to steal energy necessarily. Like they're not consumed with stealing energy or being in a lower self. If they don't have compassion, they just think of things logically. They think it would be stupid to harvest the energy of a human when they themselves can just harvest their own energy. They wouldn't harvest the energy of the enemy because, for one, what does it mean to have an enemy, and why would you want to harvest the energy of your enemy? You should be able to harvest energy from the center of the galaxy or from the infinite abundance of the universe. They still think to them that's a logical conception. It's not a compassionate one. It's not one filled with love. It's just like, it would be stupid. Why would I want to harvest the energy of a human when I can harvest the energy from my higher self as a being, a spiritual being that is connected to the Most High or to God or the God within, and they know how to harvest energy from the center of the galaxy or to replenish themselves with light. So 45D beings, again, they're not emotional. They are logical, though, extremely logical and extremely, extremely intelligent. And that intelligence allows them to observe humans in a way, as a scientist, more so to speak. But when it comes to like compassion, they have compassion, but it's just not in the same way that a human would have compassion. Humans tend to be a lot more emotional um, than the 45D beings. And again, to me, 45D beings are still human. I've seen humans clear as day be at the 45D level, and I've also seen a group of beings where they appear human. They're very, very tall, and the 45, say a human that can get on 45D, it can still be an actual just human, right? They just operate at a very high frequency. They can actually be extremely emotional and loving and be able to still communicate with the 45D being who is more logical or more rational. And they can actually get along and understand each other's mental plane, understand each other's mentality, because they have the same level of intelligence. It's just that the human that is on 45D, this doesn't mean they're a 45D being. It's just a human that can get on 45D, 45th dimension. They can have those emotions. And I've witnessed I've seen it, and it's really fascinating. These are extremely intelligent beings on both sides, but even the humans that can get on 45D, the only difference is with them is that, again, they are emotional, and so that to an actual 45D being that is saying like maybe a Naga, they don't look down on that at all. They just don't quite understand it, because they feel like with a human that can get on 45D, they feel like they may not make the most intelligent decisions because of the emotions. Like, you're not making the most efficient, rational decision because you are emotional. Now, the 45D being, I have to say, they are not, like, they're not killers. They're not, again, these are not beings that are just like, when I say utility, they're not thinking of, what's in the best interest of profit. Or when we say efficiency, they're not thinking about what's in the best interest of profit, what's in the best interest. They're literally thinking of what's in the best interest of universal enlightenment, what's in a universal expansion. So it's very different. And so, I like the 45D beings. This is 45D Nagas beings, it looks like, and they tend to, again, these are the scientists, and then there's humans that can get on 45D, but they don't stay necessarily on 45D all the time. They may go back to 3D, 4D, 5D, because honestly, it's not that you're going to look like you're in psychosis. It's just that it's a lot to be up there all the time. It can be a distraction from being on planet Earth, so that's why humans that can get on 45D, they may be up there just to observe or to learn from them species, have conversations, get even access to certain soul records. There was even a team of Black Americans who can get on 45D. They don't stay on 45D at all. But they got up on there just to they've studied my science and wanted to know it, as far as like a person, they pretty much wanted, they're kind of like protectors. And so when it came to me and my situation, they realized that, okay, there's the group of 45D beings, the Nagas beings, that are watching her and also trying to, they're observing and studying her, but they had access to some of my records. And so a group of Black Americans went up there just to sort out what was going on. Because I made some hefty claims, since 2022. I accused people of certain things. I was going through a lot. The government came after. So they were trying to understand what the hell was going on. So they even wanted to review some records from like even my childhood and look and go through my science to see like, okay, what went on in her childhood with the foster care stuff and all this stuff where this girl is accusing these people, like they was trying to put things together, and they got down to the bottom of it in a very sophisticated, intelligent manner. But at the same time, they made it very clear to the 45D beings, Nagas beings, they're like, we don't feel, even though y'all saying y'all watch over her and y'all protecting the aspect of her consciousness, so to speak, or record, so to speak, we don't trust y'all as a species. We don't trust y'all. We don't trust to leave her with y'all, or for her to go with y'all yet, or to go with, this. I know this is some heavy stuff for some people to understand. Like I said, it is a 45D conversation. So I expect people to say, oh, you try to degrade or devalue what I'm saying. There's people that are going to do that because they can't understand it, and it's not for them. So I did give that forewarning out, a disclaimer. But anyways, they were like, we don't trust you guys with her. So we're gonna still watch over her, and we're still gonna be heavily involved in the mix. Pretty much. We're not. It wasn't so much like ownership or anything, but it was just more so like they wanted to know. This group of Black Americans wanted to know why was those 45V beings so so heavily, so like, why were they around, why were they studying so much? And they had the capability to go up there and have that conversation, and I observed it because I was up there talking with them, and they were, like, the level of intelligence, it was mind-blowing. Like, they were really, really sophisticated in thought. They didn't have much emotions, but they recognized me as a part of like the clan, so to speak, or their epigenetics, so to speak. And so it wasn't like they had compassion. It was the essence of that, but it was just like you're a part. It was so non-emotional. It was just like we recognize, this is she's part of our family, and she's learning things, we're teaching her things, she's extremely intelligent. We are impressed, as scientists, we are protecting her. Like, that was how they were explaining it to them. And the Black Americans, this group of Black Americans, is like, that's not good enough, because they are the humans that get on 45D, and they have compassion and they have love. And so they was just concerned, like this group, these beings, they don't think like us. But what was interesting is that the humans that was on the 45D, right, having this conversation with the 45D Nagas beings, it was a group of humans that was still on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7D. And it was like quantum intent. It was like I don't know, it's like having a speakerphone or having a or it was so weird, like having a Morse code or something, where the humans that were on the 45D was everything that they was talking about. They were like translating it for the humans that was down like on 765D, and then those humans that was down on 765D was translating it for those that were on 3D. And I had never seen nothing like that in my life. And they were literally translating like what was going on up there, and just letting them know, like, should we bring her back down? It was a discussion, like, we're gonna bring her back down. And like, 'cause I was at 45D just talking and having a conversation too. And to me, it was like literally communicating with those I know intuitively were family, but this was a different species. It was a Naga species. And since, obviously there's a lot of humans that are hybrids. And so that's when the group of Black Americans that can get on 45D came and was debating whether we got to bring her back down. Like, we don't trust her with y'all, so we're bringing her back down. as far as with us or consciousness, and as far as like, I guess I don't know if I would have died, or I really felt like I probably would have, passed on, obviously, and went into that dimension with them. But the Black Americans was like, we just don't trust it. We don't trust her. We don't want to leave her with y'all. And so they were going through and it was amazing because I don't know if they were speaking Hebrew or what language they were speaking, but they was translating it. And it was a group that I remember the last person that was like on 7D. It was a very loving human, a very high frequency human, very high vibrating human that was translating everything that they was getting from the humans on the 45D. It was translating it everything to the rest of the humans that was on 3D. And it was a small group of humans. It wasn't like all humans. It was a small group that I think they were either Christians or whatever they were high frequency. I don't know what, but they were waiting, like they are waiting for like end times, or they were waiting for Archangel Michael. It was something that they're waiting for. Like I don't know what that was about. Like, but so he was translating everything to them so they can understand, like, so this is what's going on up there. It's a group of scientists. They explain pretty much what I'm explaining to you. That's what they was explaining. It was really freaking interesting. But I have to say, like I said, the exchange of humans energy, when it comes to the 45D beings, don't do this, by the way. They're just the scientists who are trying to literally get down to the bottom of what the hell is going on down here. But we do know that there's something within the light codes of humans, what we would call the equivalent of a dark crystal, that there's a sinister group of humans call them reptilians, right? Humans call them lizard people, or humans. I'm trying to still wrap my mind around that, because it seems like there's other humans that do this to other humans. So that's why we can't just say they're all reptilians, because there's other humans that do this. There's humans that are vampires. There's expired energy that goes after other energies to bring themselves back to life, and they are humans. And so, but we do know that there's an exchange of energy. And again, it's something with the laws of thermodynamics that's off, that is causing this. And then a science that is being perverted. I think one of the sciences is the Kabbalah, and then maybe even some of the, I don't think people, maybe even some of the other mystery sciences that are getting, perverted, even such as like how blood sacrifice was introduced into the Shakti school of thought, when Shakti school of thought is more of the chaos intelligence. Its systems have to be open for this science to make sense. But when men took the science and realized that they don't understand entropy, that's when they reverse engineered it and realized they can get energy through blood sacrifice. And so we do emphatically state that a lot of those sciences are perverted, and the Shakti school of thought never required blood sacrifice. But nonetheless, again, there's this quest to convince humans, and not all humans, but like they want these, like we talk about the Babylonian contract law that came into existence. That wasn't always the way. You didn't always have to sign a contract to make money. You didn't always have to sign deals or make deals just to make big money or anything like that. But those are the exchanges of energies. That's where people say, "Oh, you sold your soul," whatever. You probably lost your free will, or you agreed to give a certain amount of kinetic energy for an agenda, to push an agenda that is not one of your own, in exchange for money, for fiat currency. So you're giving out real kinetic energy in exchange for fiat currency. So that's once again based on the Bach laws of thermodynamics. And again, I understand I'm shadow banned, and whatever, they hate me talking like this, but I think for those that's in the know, if they were to really study it, what I'm saying, they could see themselves. Okay, there's some truth to what she's saying. But again, me being raised a certain way in the belly, in the hood, and not being misclassified and all these things, I side with humanity on being against, the energy harvesting, being against energy vampirism, because the concept of energy vampires and blood sacrifice from other species, it is looked at as a highly scientific, I have to say. And so extracting energy from a human, and again, I don't engage in this practice. I'm saying as a sociologist and someone who is a military scientist, I study what was, I'm studying what's going on down here. Again, you have some very intelligent humans, and we may call them vampires or reptilians or lizards, whatever you want to look at it, which they are most likely hybrid or a hybrid of species. I don't think that they're like lizards, like in a way you think, or not you think, but the way that some humans think. But extracting energy from a human is the same concept of a human extracting honey from a beehive. That's how some of the overlords look at what they're doing. They see it as no different than when a human extracts honey from a beehive, as far as them extracting energy from you as humans. But I would say this: there are pretty much no one of even 45D beings don't usually engage in that behavior. I do have to say they don't, but there could be some that do. I know of one that got in trouble by the 45D beings, by the GIA. We took him up to have a discussion because they wanted me to really explore the concept of his narcissism, but also his mind, what he thinks, and how, unfortunately, he's in a contract or in the game, in the system, where he literally has to downplay his level of intelligence, like totally downplay who he truly is, and just go along to get along for his money and based on the contract that he signed. And so we went up to 45D. He's actually a 45D being in the 14th bloodline, in the line of Judah, but doing some really sinister shit down here, some really sinister bullshit. So we take him up there to 45D. Actually, I don't think we take him up there. I think he could just get up there on his own. To be honest, I think he could just get up there to his own and probably much higher than 45D. Because what he's doing down here is just pretty much a job. Just like how you have like some humans, they get under this fucked up contract, like say like Prince. Prince was a genius, a musical genius, but knew a lot, but had to hide what he knew. He couldn't just go out and publicly talk about what he knew, right? So there are beings on this planet that's also in that same predicament, unfortunately. And so when we were going up there, we were trying to ask him, like, what are you doing down there? Why are you? Because he's pretty much extracting and stealing energy from people and like a vampire. And it's shocking that someone of that level of intelligence would engage in that. And so we really needed to get down to the bottom of why he was doing that. We explored aspects of his consciousness when he allowed us to. And it was just pretty much like it's a part of his contract. Like it was just like, dude, this is my job. Like I have people to protect. I'm still bound, and so we were trying to get down to the bottom of that. But again, it is rare for a 45D being to engage in energy harvesting. It's also rare for anybody above 80D. To be honest, anybody above 80D, we know how to supply ourselves with our own energy. Well, we realize that we believe he may have forgot how to supply his own energy. So he's a vampire essentially. A black one. Like people thinking it's just it's gonna be just the white folks going after the black folks. That is not true. You got this like they clone Tyrone with the black scientists. Y'all better wake up. But I have to say, we went through all the phases in Atlantean Masonry 45D and above. And so again, people at the 80D level, 45D, it's very rare for them to engage in the blood sacrifice or trying to get people to make deals and get in contracts and trying to harvest their energy, make them sign NDAs and all that. It is rare. But when we caught it, we were like, why is this person doing that? For one, we wanted to know, like, why are you so obsessed with her and going after her? Which would be, they wanted to know, like, why are you obsessed with Kylie J.N.S? Like, what are you doing? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And so he was given an explanation. And that's when the Black Americans, I was up there, we all watching this, and that's when the group of Black Americans, and it was actually some, again, the ones, was there any white ones up there? It was already a white GIA officer who was already on 45D, who was a Naga. They weren't human. They weren't on planet Earth. But that's when the group of Black Americans went up there to see what the hell was like. Why? Okay, what is she doing? And that's when they were saying, we don't feel comfortable leaving her with you guys or having her with you. And that's when they was like kind of like a microphone or like some weird octave, like a speakerphone, like kind of like telephone, I guess, like going through the dimensions and letting people know from, okay, it goes to 7D, the 7D relays it to the people on 3D, or 5D, so to speak, and then people on 5D give it to the people on 3D. And I could see all of it like clear as day. And that's when it was letting them know, like, oh, they're doing this, they're discussing this. She's talking about this, and why is she saying this person? She knew this person in the past life. Why is this person saying that's her brother? Why is she saying brother? This group of Black Americans are so sophisticated and very spiritual, very holy. They believe in holiness. And so they have been watching over me, and they was just like, we just don't feel comfortable, like we need to know what's going on, what you guys are doing. And they talked for a long time. I talked for a long, and they were shocked because they were looking through my records, like seeing through records of when I was 5 years old, my thoughts when I was 5, how you can have your higher self and your lower self, or your higher self kind of programming your lower self in terms of this video game, so to speak, in terms of your soul being well aware that it's a soul and being in programming, so to speak, your human experience on earth. I'll tell you, that's kind of what that is like, so to speak. And so seeing my 5-year-old self be looking through those dimensions, okay, I'm also on planet Earth, having this human experience and kind of directing it, so to speak. And that's hard to explain to people because now you're looking at like an aspect of an Akashic record, but not quite. And the Akashic records, this is kind of different. You have different levels of records. The Akashic records is a set of a database that they have their gatekeepers. You have Metatron and Sandalphon. And that is just of the higher levels. I think people can get access Akashic records without having to talk with Metatron and Sandalphon. I'm not saying you always have to. I'm just saying my process is a little bit different. And then you have the Earth-based records, and then whatever is at 45D, there's a group of people of your family. This could be of your bloodline that also guards records, or who guards experiences, who guards things. And when again, this is like military operation in terms of what happened to me on planet Earth, in terms of what happened in 2022 and the violations of treaties and the breaches of soul contracts. Like it says, there was something that got breached. And so there is like this concerted effort to understand exactly what happened, because there are beings on this planet that's trying to cover all that up. And since it involves secret societies, and even people who or sellouts, as I say, people who was close to me selling me out, people who was doing things for money, people in government covering up stuff. Like we talking about, then you could clearly see evidence of how big this got, even with, how people say they don't act like they don't know me or whatever, but you could clearly see intelligence and presidents plagiarizing stuff out of my essence and my likeness, books. So it's weird, right? And so spiritually speaking, there's a lot going on when it comes to my case. I'm not saying that means anything for anybody else. I'm just saying that this is my journey and my experience in terms of me talking about spiritual crimes. When we talk about spiritual crimes, it has to be a spiritual investigation, and there was definitely spiritual crimes committed, even by systems that, like, it's stuff that happened illegal. And to be honest, that's the case with a lot of targeted individuals. Like, sometimes if you're in a deal or you're in a contract and you say you breach it, then them coming after you, it could be warranted, right? But in certain people, that's not the case. They are being violated, and that is a spiritual crime. And there's many targeted individuals that fall under that category. And so with me, my strategy might have been messy, as far as like just put it all out there, talk about it, don't stop talking about it, because people are trying to cover this stuff up and act like nothing ever happened. But also it was a cry for God to step in, a cry for my spiritual team to step in, for any constellation that may have awareness or access to my records, for a higher level species to help That's what it was for me. But I get back on topic. So the idea of extracting energy from a human is the same way, say, from these beings, like these dark. I don't even want to use the word dark, but the overlords, so to speak. And I don't even want to call them overlords. Like, I guess we'll because reptilians sound a little kid-like to me. I ain't even gonna hold you. It sounds a little ridiculous. Um, but the energy vampires, let's just call them energy vampires. The energy vampires, what they view, what they're doing is the same way as a human extracting honey from a beehive. Okay, so when we talk about the bee extraction of honey, within Naga's beings, sometimes getting absorbed in terms of your energy, that is like the equivalent of a bee having an orgasm before death. That's the same the concept between a drone bee and the queen. That's meant to be expressed between the species. That's not meant to be expressed between, say, a Naga and a human. So this is the concept of the Book of Enoch, or even in the Book of Genesis, where angels are not supposed to lay with the daughters of men or with humans. There's not supposed to be that mixture between an angel and a human. But obviously, even in the Bible that happened, and that's where you get the Nephilim and whatnot. I really want to look at that as literal or interdimensional. That's on you. For me, it's clear as day, something at least interdimensional at the very least. When you think about comply or die science in terms of the very way certain species operate, say the black widow, or how some certain sea creatures, salmon, it has nothing to do with human conceptions of relationships or even gender. Please do not bring that low level shit to us. Again, a lot of, especially women, they want to make everything about men and competition for men. That's not what this conversation is about. When we talk about drone bees and queen bee, we are literally talking about it's a very sophisticated natural comply or die science. It's something that's defined in nature. Once the drone bee, the queen bee mates, he dies, but he has an orgasm before death, and then he goes to a higher dimension. That's just a bee science. Naga species, believe it or not, do a similar practice. Again, it is forbidden for them to put that on humans. Humans are heart-based. So if you're extracting energy from a human, that's painful to them. That drains them. If you are, say, even engaging in sex magic with a Nagas being, or a human, just for a contract, just for money, so they can be famous or something, that is going to drain them and hurt them because they are heart-based. They won't understand that. They don't need those rituals, pretty much, is what we're saying. Now, that can be very controversial to people who say, well, fuck you, we're on planet Earth, we can do what we want, it's a free will planet. I mean, go into a black wormhole for all we care. Yeah, you're free will, right? Tell that to God. There's a science behind everything. And just because you're ignorant of the laws of the universe doesn't mean that the universe is not going to smack your fucking ass up. There's a science at the very least, whether you believe in God or not. There is a science. We talked about the laws of thermodynamics. We talked about even the intermixture between interactions between species. Can a human and a dog fucking and reproduce? Can a human and a horse fuck? No, it's like weird. It's like, okay, that's bestiality, and some people do that, but it is abnormal. And so that's even the same with interdimensional beings. Or in the Book of Enoch, or in the Book of Genesis, where the angels lay with the daughter of men. It's a different type of science. But in terms of explaining it to humans, in terms of the way Nagas get down with each other, a drone bee and the queen bee, or like, say, the black widow, or say, like, even the way lemurs, even the way elephants operate, the way dolphins operate, the way orca whales, I'm just trying to name a couple. That is more so how Nagas beings operate. They're naturally matriarchal. Seahorses, what else? They absorb sometimes the male energy when they need it, and then the male goes up to a higher dimension. So, that's where the mystery sciences come in. Obviously, somebody like a Tahuti would understand that, an Anubis, a Yeshua would understand that. It's not meant to harm the men, But in human thinking, they're going to think, oh my gosh, someone's stealing my man. Someone's stealing. Oh my gosh, the men are being treated. It's a very stupid. I don't mean to be mean. It's just like, ugh, it's hard to explain that. It's hard to explain that. But that's why we say, it shouldn't be it shouldn't be a mixture. And especially when you say, unfortunately, in certain industries where they require you to get put on. In order to get put on, you got to sign some sort of contract, do some sort of deal, maybe even engage in a sex magic ritual like that. To a 45D being, a Nagas being, 125D, that is weird to us. We're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like that, we don't understand it, because it's like, okay, this person naturally has a talent. They are naturally gifted. If the systems were open, your laws of the thermodynamics were correct, they don't have to go through that. What are you doing? Natural influence is natural influence. God's gifts are God's gifts. Like, just express it. And so we realize that it's a lot of Nagas 33 beings doing that. The 33D Nagas beings doing that bullshit with the humans. And that's why they say, oh, the music industry is so demonic and all these things. Oh, look at these rituals. Oh, look at this stuff. It's coming from an aspect of that. Then I study the dark crystal, but it's not just in the music industry. We're talking about politics, the way secret societies work, the way they harvest energy from humans. But when you talk to even a Naga 33 being, they tend to be really intelligent, right? Sometimes, and they go through SRA or trauma-induced mind control. Sometimes that can make them psychotic, crazy, and narcissistic because of the abuse and trauma that they had endured. And maybe on surface level, they are really intelligent, but they operate from a very reptilian, fear-based. Remember when we talk about the reptilian brain, right? Fight or flight. What trauma-induced mind control does, and what SRA does, is it creates a fight or flight response. And it creates psychotic behavior. And so even if they were intelligent, in our eyes, they would fall short of what a true intellect or the full vastness of creativity and innovation is, because they're constantly in that fight or flight mode. You take, I got it, I'll take it. Energy vampirism, because they're not healed. Trauma-induced mind control and SRA produces narcissism, produces satanic psychotic behavior, and it forces a person's soul to be fractured and fragmented into state in the lower self, which means they never evolve past certain emotions like jealousy, like hatred, fear of the unknown, fear of differences. And so it's a weird backwards thing, but there is a scientist, or there's a group of weirdos for some reason that are getting, not so much, it's like they want to keep the system closed, and they want to keep people at a low frequency, so that I guess they can feel like they are in rulership, like this saying that it's better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven, which I think is a very stupid concept, because heaven and hell are states of consciousness, right? They're states of mind. Universe is energy, and the universe is mental. And with that being said, when you say better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven, do you know how many people rule in heaven? Why would you think people don't rule in heaven? And why don't you think that there are beings that are heavenly, that have free will? That we don't understand that thinking. Like, what? Like, we have free will. Some of us do, and the ones that don't, they're in bliss consciousness. They like to be, so to speak, it's like being God's child. It's like it's a weird way to, it's hard to explain it. It's very hard to explain this that concept, because I have free will. And so when we talk about like the 45D beings, which tend to be GIA, they have to have free will. They're military investigators, they're military intelligence officers. They obviously would have free will. They would have to, because if they gotta take a motherfucker out, they gotta take a motherfucker. They gotta make a call, an executive order. They can't consort with a council of 99, or go through these different orders. They can't, or talk with God. No, we have to do what we gotta fucking do. We have to use great judgment, but we've also evolved species, a very evolved souls. We're not aliens, just highly evolved souls, where, we're going to operate out of the best, for the species that we're watching over, or for the planets that we are on, to an extent. Again, if we get targeted or we get fucked with and we ain't doing nothing to nobody and we get illegally fucked with, some of that goes out of the window too. Some of that does go out of the window. Let's see what you said. You said cortisol, adrenaline from spikes burn up neural path, says, and the person is stuck in their agitation. Right. There we go. So that's the scientific breakdown of the SRA and trauma-induced mind control, or trauma-induced, satanic ritual abuse, cortisol and adrenaline, norepinephrine spikes burn up neural path and ways, and the person is stuck in their agitation. Right. That's what that. Yep. So that's the scientific way of the breakdown of what I'm saying. And so, but I do have to say, the highest levels of the Nagas 33, that, especially the one that can get on 45D, that being, that's the one why we were, because you were like, you were a former GIA officer. What the fuck are you doing down here? And why are you going after that girl? And why is she saying you were her brother in a former past life and all this shit? And they had to go through those memories. Like, they had to literally go through those records. Because it's like, okay, is it true? Why is she saying? That's when the Black Americans went, the small group of Black Americans went up there. These were priests. And they wanted to get down to the bottom of it too. Like, well, is those records accurate? Because they have to go through those records. And because, again, you got your epigenetics. You may have former past lives. You may have been in different dimensions. You may have come down or had an agreement to do something together on the planet or something. You and another, how people have the twin flame, or people have karmic relationships, or people have even soulmates. But say a karmic relationship don't mean it's a good relationship. It can be as a relationship that's going to teach you some lessons. Same with the twin flame, where you're literally split yourself in two, and you have a female version of yourself that is kind of like brother and sisters. But also, if the twin flame thing is there, you most likely, and you guys are the same species. Again, I talked about this in one of my books, and I think that's why they wanted to do that book ban, because they really don't want this stuff out. When you see how the one of these groups, they do the RSA, and they have the little kids doing stuff with each other, right? And then they sometimes even touch the little kids and all this stuff. That group that does that, it's a whole, obviously I don't agree with something like that, but they took that knowledge. They have humans doing that stuff, right? And that stuff is not for humans to be doing. Real talk. I don't care. You could try to put yourself on that level and say, yeah, we can do whatever we want. That stuff is not for humans to be doing. 45D beings, certain Nagas beings, they can do that. They do ritual mating between brothers and sisters. That's why you see, even say the royal bloodlines, right? And the pharaohs. Do you remember how they would have that Uraeus on their head, that cobra? They were hybrids, a lot of them. Now, towards the end of Kemet, they started mixing with the humans and just doing some fuck shit. That's why, honestly, it descended. It's like mixing your DNA. It's like becoming a different species, kind of, so to speak. But in its heights, especially when Atlantis dimension was over Kemet and over Americas. Let's be real. Those Nagas beings, they were interdimensional. This is where we talk about the fallen angels, whatever, the Nagas 33. There's literally somebody in jail for talking about how Lucifer taught the humans how to build the pyramids. The angels, I don't even know how I should be getting into all of this. They taught them electromagnetic levitation. I actually know how. I've seen how to actually do it. I don't know how to do it. I just seen it in a dream, but I don't know how to do it physically. I'm saying I seen how they did it in a dream. It was fucking mind blowing. And they also did this in some of the Indian in structures in India. Some of those complex structures that you see in India and all that. And there's a certain way they did that. You know, when you talk about they lifting those 22-ton bricks, they didn't lift it with fucking hands. Now towards the end of Kemet, not even towards the end, but like especially when they started talking about enslaving the Hebrews, so to speak, that's when the Nagas 33 started. They moved on, or certain high level humans, they moved on from this planet. And so that's when people actually started enslaving motherfuckers to build stuff for them. But at one point, a lot of them structures were not built by slaves. We're talking, they were built by humans, don't get me wrong, but humans had the capability of magnetic levitation, like magnetic levitation and understanding of high level sounds. But there's certain ways. I mean, it's kind of amazing. I'm not going to talk about that online as far as what I saw in that dream, but whew, it's like whoa. And that's how the shit was built. It didn't really require a lot of physical labor, is what I'm saying. But towards the end of things, you know, where we're at now, you see we have to actually get a crane and pull things, and to be honest, even in certain aspects of Kemet, towards the fall of Kemet, they were enslaving motherfuckers, just like how the Roman Empire started enslaving motherfuckers to get them to build stuff, just like how America had to do it. But I'm telling you, at a certain frequency, you don't have to enslave anybody. We're talking about the pharaohs will come with very advanced schematics. They had their chief architect of infrastructure and construction, and they had priests, believe it or not, who were involved. And there was different types of sciences. Even if we think of the wall of Jericho, when the wall fell because of the screaming of a certain frequency. Even when you think of a certain frequency, glass breaks. You know, so if the conception should be hard to follow. If you can raise something at a certain frequency and something breaks, you can raise some sort of frequency and something forms, just like crystals. Like, just even a way, it's just common sense. Like, it's not anything I'm saying that's just so hard to grasp. But that's what happened when you see the pharaohs with the cobra. They were Nagas beings, and so they weren't human, so to speak. It could have even been hybrid with human or appear to look human, but let's be real, there was intermingling on some level. But when you would see like how the sisters and brothers would be married in Egypt, and sister and brothers would be mated, even that kind of messed up the genetics because they weren't fully Nagas. But say at a higher dimension, saying like, okay, y'all want to go there? I don't even know if we should. Let's try it. You know, let's see, because I know y'all love to go and do. It's not y'all, but like there you have a group of influencers that are clear, like intelligence that try to undermine what I'll be talking about, and that's why I'm like, I wish I could go underground somewhere, have a place where, you know, I had a group of people that, you know, they can talk about this stuff offline or something, or like, you know. But nonetheless, like say like on Saturn, the certain dimensions around Saturn, those are there's a fully Nagas beings, right? They under no circumstance have to worry about genetic defects when the brothers and sisters mate. In fact, I'm going. I don't even know if I should be. I'll try. They are mated usually around age 5, especially at the royal level, the royal bloodlines. They are mated around the age 5. They're expected. They're bonded. So who else was mated? I'm not going to talk about that because that's people not going to believe that part. But you're usually mated. Now that doesn't mean you probably would even have other partners and even sleep with another person or two, or maybe engage in maybe a tantric a gory ritual. But you guys are mated around age 5 as Nagas beings, because whatever dimension you go through, there's like something like a pheromone that is that's attached to the spine of a female Nagas being. Wherever dimension they'll go to, even if especially if say you get trapped somewhere or someone falls in frequency or something, you guys will always be able to find one another. Or what happens is the brother is designed. The brother will always be protective over the mating the mating ritual at 5, and then the pheromone that gets introduced to the brother at age 5 through a Nagas being, mind you, they don't experience what it's not. Their genetics are not going to get messed up. They're not going to. It doesn't harm them. It's a different conception. It's different. It's like, why are 5-year-olds doing that? Oh, I don't even know if I should be talking about this because it's like. But again, this is not humans. Okay, these are. This is not recommended for humans. No 5-year-old child that is a human should be engaging in these practices. They are abhorrent. They should. I want to make that very clear. This is what we see. This is what we're saying is that there's a group of humans today that are doing that. And they call them like the Illuminati or whatever. And what we're saying is that they're not the same species as the Nagas, even though they may think they are, and even though they may have some of the light codes or some of the genetics, they are not a full Nagas being. And so it is inappropriate and is extremely inappropriate for humans to engage in that mating ritual that the 5-year-olds, especially as children, but then also it's unnecessary for SRA. It's unnecessary for trauma-induced mind control. No, that is just to control the human pretty much through mind control. That is not anything that a true 100% Nagas being would do at all. And then also, humans should not be, because they're heart-based and because it's a different species, they don't need to engage in mating rituals between children at all. And they can't have mating rituals between brother and sister, mother and father, mother and daughter. What is it? Mother and child either, or father and child. Some of those practices, even in Nagas beings, 100% Nagas beings do not do parent and child. That's kind of not something that happens. And I think it's under emergency purposes when the species, like even when you look at the Bible, remember when the Moabites had to do it, where they had to preserve the seed of the father, so to speak. It's very rare. It's very frowned upon, I have to say. Even me reading that the Moabites had to do, I'm like, ugh. But I would say if you wanted to keep your species going and that was the only way to, it would be overlooked. But people have done it. It's even in the Bible. Like seriously, and you can study that with the Moabites. But it is frowned upon, and it's normally not even necessary. But when it comes to the Nagas beings, especially the full ones around Saturn, they do make the children, brothers and sisters, sometimes the cousins of the royal bloodlines. And there's a pheromone that comes from the woman's base of their spine that is literally like a drug, is like an addiction to that male brother or that male species that they're getting mated with at age 5. And that is for them to always, it's like literally a way to build a protective mechanism over the female, depending on what dimension they're going to. And the brother is extremely protective over the female, but also addicted to that female. They're protective, and they're addicted to that pheromone. Not necessarily her, but it's the energy of the base of the pheromone that female Nagas exudes out. And that's just to keep them together so they won't turn on each other, so they won't sell each other out, so they won't violate each other or kill each other. That's really what it's designed to do. And it's mainly for the males not to do that to the females. The females are made differently. They're already matriarchal. So they develop something in their mind where if they don't have this same addiction, as far as like the males don't have that same pheromone, but they still have something. It's something with the heart. It's something that happens with the emotional aspect of a Nagas female that attaches them to the male species. But in the event of a violation in terms of somebody getting sold out, or a brother selling a female out, their sister out or something, that instantly severs. Like it severs something in the soul where contractually or spiritually, they're no longer obligated. The female can walk away. It's harder for the male to walk away, but the female, the Naga's sister, can, and most of the time is supposed to walk away. It depends. But those Naga pheromones and even the mating rituals that occur in the spiritual realm, they it can make it extremely hard for both parties to walk away, even as toxic as the situation can get. It's extremely toxic as it can get, and you'll be like, well, why aren't you two just walking the fuck away? There's literally something scientifically within those beings, in their epigenetics, within the pheromones, and even the construction, the energy that female is exuding, that makes it really hard for the male to just let it go. They become obsessed with their sister, so to speak. And to be honest, I don't know if you could see remnants of it in the nobility of Kemet, or even some of the black nobility. I could imagine so, but again, as the dissension process happened, and even Nagas mixing with humans, say as it got to like Rome, Greece, Europe, those are different species. Like, I mean, I won't say different species. They are more human. So they may not be fully human, but they are more human. And so them mixing brother and sister together causes more retardation. It causes the genetics to be messed up. They're not supposed to inbreed. They're not supposed to. They're not supposed to inbreed at all. And so it can make, obviously, the issues with the genetics. Even some of the Nagas here on planet Earth don't really engage in those practices, I have to say. That's something that occurs, again, it's something that occurs in the dimensions of some of the moons of Saturn, like some of the dimensions on Saturn, even still. Especially the royal Nagas, like say, like we talk about Shiva and Kali Ma and all those, that happened with them. Okay, so this is a different type of species, but even today, that's not really going on. So don't think that, I'm trying to promote, a certain group of people even on this planet to engage in those practices. I'm not. I don't think it's necessary, right? I'm just telling you how it was done historically and interdimensionally. And so, like, when you see a Shiva and the Kali Ma, those archetypes, and these are energies, but they're rooted in that Cobra Uranus energy, and it is a different species, and they were more intelligent. They were here as teachers. They were here to give out knowledge, and in some group, especially when you say like the 33 that came down, they a lot of them did mate with humans, and a lot of them did teach. They didn't do a milestone drip feed content of how they were going to teach humans. They just didn't give a fuck. They wanted to do whatever they wanted to do. They said, well, the technicality is that it's free will planet. So, this was a conversation for 45D beings. I made that clear in the beginning. I know there's some people maybe coming in, especially on spaces. I made it very clear that this was for 45D humans and above, and 45D beings and above, because there are humans that can get on 45D. There was the only way to teach this topic. It's a really complex topic. And I don't even think I may be even doing it justice. But I tried my best, because again, these are stuff that you could see, but in how do you express it in words, and how do you make it sound logical, especially because a lot of the things that we see now are just inappropriate for humans. Obviously, we would be against SRA abuse, satanic ritual abuse. Obviously, we'd be against trauma-induced mind control. Obviously, we'd be against harming children of any kind, obviously we'd be against humans mating brother and sister, okay? But we're telling you, like, when you see a group of people that are humans that are doing these practices, they learned it from their hybrids. They're not fully Nagas. And so you see, like, the way the systems are now and how they reverse engineering it to keep humans at the low frequencies. it's inappropriate even for them to do it. Those that's calling themselves like the elites or them those saying that they're reptilians, whatever. It's even inappropriate for them, is what we're saying now, because they maybe part Nagas, but they clearly are mainly or mostly human. Um, yeah, we'll say that. But when we're talking about the way some of the Nagas 33, some of the fallen angels, how they see it, the ones that are more um really connected to the angel class, so to speak, more Nagas than say the average human. They look at that as eusocial resource allocation and energetic processing. Okay. Um, and let's take a look at that. Let's actually share. Um, let's take a look at that together. Let's see if I can share a screen. Okay, let's see. Your social resource allocation. There we go. So let me just make sure it's sharing. Okay, so you're full screen mode. Okay, there we go. So that's what they see this as far as like the way that bees extract honey, right? Um, okay, let's see. Let's see. Specific adult life groups, adult property care for offspring that are not their own generations overlap only specific individual. Is this what I'm looking for? I'm looking for the bees. I want to look at it for scaling of work and energy use in social insects. Yeah, this is what I'm looking more so for something like that. So let's see if we can, let's see what comes up. Okay, it's taking a little longer to load. Did it load? Okay, there we go. Preferences. Okay. Let's see. So the abstract scaling of work and energy use in social insect colonies. Let me just look at this real quick. Group size has profound effects on organizational work, and in social insects, larger colony sizes associated with lower mass specific energy use. Similar hypometric relationships between group size and per gram energy use may extend across other social taxa. The mechanism of driving scale, social metabolic scaling very well. Evidence suggests that it can be associated with organizational changes in work performance that allow more efficient energy use by larger groups. In social insect colonies, larger group size allows stronger individual specialization, greater diversity in task forms, like these improved resilience. Okay, larger colonies often okay. Provide a kidney connection to mount interest. Colony group size is not generally associated with changes. Okay. I'm thinking that Eurosocial, okay, because this is what I'm looking for in terms of bee. Okay, so that I guess this is more so of the conception of how bees pollinate and fertilize flowers, and then you have the male and a female stemma and flowers, and then the nectar conversion to make honey. This is also okay, just like how let's break it down even a little smaller. Now I'm getting my point. So you see how remember when they said like the way the Nagas 33 extracts energy from humans is the way they see that humans extract energy from bees, right? But now let's look at how the bees extract and get energy. They pollinate and they fertilize the flowers, right? The male and the female stemma of the flowers, and then they use that nectar, then they convert that to make honey. Now, this is energy harvesting for the bees, okay? And so when you're talking to like a Naga 73 being, they don't have, they may not have emotions like that. They see what they're doing to humans as literal Eurosocial resource allocation and energetic processing. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so now let me look at this in terms of bees. Let me just take the bees real quick. Okay. Okay, so the insects, the bees, they live in a colony with only some individuals capable of reproducing. So you have drones and the queen bee. Remember, uh, uh, other than the queen, I mean, just the queen is reproducing, and then once the drones um, ejaculated her, they die. Okay, and so there's that division of labor with different individuals undertaking different roles, such as defense or foraging. And so bees are your social ants and wasps. And so that's literally how the beings that are harvesting humans, that's literally how they look at it. Now let me see if I can find so bees, honeybees are your social. Really so stressful compared to bumblebees. And they're not they are some solitary bees, but let's see. but this allows them, you know, the way they harvest energy to produce the nectar to convert it into honey. But then also when you look at the relationship between the queen bee and the drones. So this is the energetic basis of colonial survival and social insects. Let me take a look at this. Evolution of insect requires greater knowledge about sociality affects the performance of whole colonies. So it's metabolic scaling theory. It's simply predicted many aspects. Theory predicts the size dependence of basic features. Okay. This is a little bit of a complex topic to break down, but this is how what they view what they're doing in terms of energy harvesting of humans. That's how they see it. We talk about 33D beings. Remember, a lot of 45D beings do not engage in this behavior. It's very rare because they're advanced and they get energy from a different source. And then anybody above 80D is not. It is extremely rare. But the dangers of what we're seeing with the 33D being Nagas and even that 145D being that is clearly, we looking to see like what we can actually do as far as he's committed some spiritual crimes. They are doing that to humans. They are harvesting energy from them, and they're smarter than them, and they have empowered in them, and so it's unfortunate, and so, but also remember, there are humans that can get on 45D. There are humans that can get that know how to also harvest energy from the center of the galaxy, from other sources, so they don't need to do what a Nagas 33 being is doing, or even some of what other humans are doing. Humans are engaging in these practices too. Don't just think it's just one species doing this just to humans. There are humans that are totally doing this to other humans. Okay? They're totally doing this to other humans. And so, that's also something you want to think about. I want to talk a little bit about colony level trophylactic resource processing. So this, I want to say, is this the concept of the bee pollinization? Because I had wrote this stuff honestly some months ago, and so I had meant to cover this topic so long ago. To be honest, let's see, nutrients, chemical signals, and other biological materials through fluid sharing among social insects. Okay. Yep. So bees do this, but this is what I was explaining with the mating, the mating ritual between the Nagas brother and sisters. That is what this is. They do colony level trophylactic resource processing, and so that's when there's signaling and regulation of pheromones are spread to maintain colony order, distinguish nest mates, and suppress reproduction in workers. And so that's why the royal bloodlines only get attracted to. That's why they are only allowed to mate with one another. The pheromones, and they won't. They're not attracted to the workers, or they're not attracted to people that are not of their bloodline, of the royal bloodline. That's pretty much what that means. That is a real thing, and Nagas deal with that. They do deal with that. Let's see, fluid sharing mechanism in ants and bees. Foragers collect liquid food stored in a specialized crop or social stomach and regurgitate it to nest mates upon return. Okay, so bees do that as well. And they do this anus to mouth, and it's vital for transferring symbiotic microbes that aid in digestion. So now we talk about anus to mouth. We are not going to talk about sex magic on this video. Oh no. There is a ritual that deals with that as well. And you said I used to have intense repetitive dreams involving a queen bee. Really? Wow. That's so funny. Weird question. Would these entities literally present themselves as bees? I think that they present themselves. For me, I saw something as a large ass insect. My thing is, I don't know if it's a bee. The what I saw as far as there's a sinister force, obviously that's trying to drain humans, right? And I saw that kind of looked like an insect to me. I have been in grocery stores, right? And there's other humans that are very, very sophisticated, and they try to hide what they know. They ain't all reckless like me, right? And they pretty much said in the code, Now, they're not shadow banned, so they videos got like out. But when he said, "Look, anybody that know you go into Walmart, we all know what Walmart be on, the type of shit they be on, and you go into any Walmart." And he said they tested it multiple times, and like I'm even trying to speak in code now because it sounds so crazy, but when he was like, "Look, it's real. You're not just tripping." And he was, speaking in a certain code. But I'll say this: I went into grocery stores, and these humans, they'll look like a human. They'll look like an actual human, but I can literally see what they are in the spiritual realm, or what they really are behind a mask, like the movie They Live. I ain't gonna hold you. Like I see, they look like some of them are parasite looking, like they look like insects, and they look like a human, and they'll follow you around the motherfucking store. Like I remember one was following me around the store, so I had to say my chant, and they hurried, they jumped and ran. But I'm like, yo, that's some weird motherfucking shit. Like, and honestly, like, there's some humans where you don't get that. Like, you'll get around them, you can tell that that's just a human. Like, their spirit is just a human, or they just chilling. Some they just a walking dead. But to see, like, there are literally alien motherfucking species. Like, I don't know what that is. Well, I ain't gonna say aliens now, because I'm against saying that term because it sounds ridiculous. But there are literally like weird stuff around a species among us, like interdimensional beings among us, and they not all lovey-dovey or good. Like they looking to steal energy, they looking to extract. They'll gang stalk you in these stores. They'll follow you around in the store. They're weird, and like you can feel a weird insect energy on them. Like it's like they look like a parasite in the spiritual realm, or they'll look like an insect. But as far as a bee, I didn't see that they look like a bee. I saw that they look like a fucking parasite. But even the whoever is one of the beings that's like stealing like a lot of the energy of the humans, that to me looked like a giant fucking insect. And it wasn't a bee though. I just didn't get a good vibe. I just didn't get a good vibe. Even like some of the Babylonian deities, I ain't gonna hold you. Like a lot of people love them Babylonian deities. I'm not too keen on them because a lot of them are homunculus, which means that they were created by other deities for nefarious purposes. And I ain't gonna hold you. Like I'm not impressed. Like even when I had went and met Arishka God, like a lot of people might love Arishka. I met Arishka. She didn't like me. She don't fuck with me though because she say she's in the underworld, right? I met her. She said Kali and them, the other guys is the ones that's protecting me. So they was like, whatever, they fuck with you. So I don't like you, but on the strength of them fucking with you, I'll let you rock. But she kind of had that insect vibe to me. Like it was like it's like a mixture of a reptilian and an insect. It's really weird. Like you can see the pictures of it. Even if you look at the pictures of let me just show y'all some pictures because what the pictures that y'all saw is what I literally, and I didn't even know about this being. I had no idea of what. I'm like, what is that? What does that mean? Like, what the fuck what are y'all talking about? But even the way, and I think they might have took some of the photos out. The photos, like some of the older ones, I think they might have removed that shit. But let me just show y'all, like, because they gonna remove a lot of this stuff offline. But this how it kind of looked. I'm trying to find the one like this type shit where like it was given insect and reptilian. This right here, that right there. This is exactly how it looked. This right. You see where my hand's going right? You see where my arrow is going right here? Mm-hmm. That's how it looked. It was given insect and reptilian. I'm telling you. And see that people got to start taking screenshots of this stuff because they're gonna start removing this shit off the line. I'm telling y'all. Because even look this, they saying this is a ritual law now. This is what they saying is a ritual law. They always want to make everything, like really no. And that's not a being that like humans. I ain't even gonna hold you. They trying to make it seem this is exactly boom. I spawn everything out these little that stuff like that. It was given insect and reptilian note. And she gave me some information to get to relate to humans and told me what they was going to do as far as that abortion and watch out for certain technology that humans are not supposed to be working with, that they didn't give clearance because a lot of these are the beings that gave a lot of humans their technology. But that's it. That's how it was given. But see, like a lot of them Babylonian deities, they don't like humans. Like people be worshiping and doing all this stuff, and like they don't even fuck with you. And she was the one. She didn't even like me. They do deals and stuff. They do binds and they'll do shit where they'll get your ass. You know, this is exactly how it looked. And see, how would I have known that? They say this is a nana, but this is like the Rishkagar energies. And that being, because this is not how it looked. Like I could tell they already messing up the history, because that's not Erishkigal. Like those are two different beings. Like, and they're gonna throw these different names on them and stuff, but this is how it looked. It's how she looked. And like they look like this still. Like, oh, that's true. And they even started experimenting with shit. And what I'm saying is like some of these humans that you see, that you go to Walmart or you go to the grocery store. And what I'm saying is like they have an insect energy on them. It's a weird energy on them, and I didn't like it. Whatever, I didn't like the frequency, and they follow you around in stores or watch you like the gang stalkers, kind of like. And you gotta be prayed up or whatever. And then you see them run and stuff. And again, I'm not coming at Ishtar, Estar thing. That's not them. That's not who I'm talking about. That's not who I'm talking about. This is not Erishkigal. They saying that this is Erishkigal. That's not. I think that's Ishtar. So they mixing the gods up and stuff, and they always gonna fuck up the history. You just gotta know shit intuitively, or you gotta remember. You better remember your motherfucking past lives. That's all I can say. Because you rely on these people to teach you something, they'll fuck your ass up. This is Ishtar, but they mixing them up together, and they're not the same gods. They're not. Ishtar and Erishagar are two different gods. They are. And what I'm saying, when they, you know, it's I don't for me, I'm not all gung ho about a lot of them Babylonian deities. I'm just not. I'm just not. That's just me. And I know it may offend people, but you said I fucked up and sent some bad vibes her way, came back with a coconut can and apologized ASAP. Wow. So I wonder if again, I think that there are some high level beings that come off as a queen bee to see that. Don't get me wrong. But whatever happened with like these Babylonian deities, and from what I was seeing, them having that insect look and that parasite look and mixture with reptilian, whatever that was. To me, I just don't like their frequency, you know. Even with Arishka God, I'm not disrespecting her, you know, because you know, I'm not saying I don't like her. I'm just saying like that's how she looked. I'm not even saying good or bad, right or wrong with that look. I'm just saying that's how it looked. But when it comes to the actual humans that you'll see like walking around in Walmart with that parasite energy, that's a whole nother thing. That's some of them. I've been seeing humans in the spiritual realm that got chains around their neck because they slaves to them Babylonian deities, because they in contracts with them. They got pacts with them. And some of them, those humans that had that parasite look in the spiritual realm, they are looking to steal energy and to bring other humans into them fucked up contracts with them. He said she's supposed to have chickens. She's supposed to have chicken feet. I don't know. I mean, don't Abraxas got chicken feet? So I'm not sure. Again, I'm not gonna act like I'm an expert on this shit. Like the Pikatrix. Yeah, you know, but oh, I see what you mean, like that chicken feet right there. Oh, I see what you mean. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, they was messing around. A lot of them homunculus Babylon, and I know I'd be offending, but a lot of that stuff, that's just like the, you know, they were doing Bergonia rituals, but they were doing that at a much higher level. They were doing that at a much much higher level. And it cost, you know, to be messing around with certain stuff, you know. So I'm not gonna get all into that, because again, I'm not trying to offend, you know, because I have these them Babylonian deities. They was after my ass in 2023, and it was hell fighting them off. I fought them off, but it was hell. I mean, it was bad. Like whew, like like even some of that V2K technology they be using, they be conjuring up like it's demonic technology, right? They use a lot of that sorcery, the Babylonian sorcery, to even create even V2K technology. I think they got it from them, believe it or not. Again, I went when I was talking with an rich girl, they like scientists down there. These motherfuckers, they got some shit. And they said, look, humans is trying. I'm gonna just give y'all one of the advanced, things that they said. Some humans stole some technology from us. They said they trying to come up with a laser that can just give abortion. So instead of having to go get scraped out or having to take a pill, it's a laser that they just want to swipe across the bottom of the abdomen that will give the abortion, right? And they said that these fucking humans, because honestly, like I said, these guys do not like a lot of guys. You be thinking these guys like humans, they don't. They was like these motherfuckers stole this technology from us. I mean, she ain't say it like that, but she was like, they don't have clearance and they are not sanctioned to use that technology to give abortion. And they said they're working on that right now, Jenny. They're working on creating this laser that will swipe across the stomach and give the human abortion. That they're not testing it properly and they want to roll it out and they want to make money off it. They said that laser is not for that. And I don't know what type of laser it was, but she was working on something. She was working on some type of technology shit down there, in the underworld. They was working on some type of technology shit. That's what she liked to do. And she said, tell them motherfuckers they are not giving clearance to use that for abortion. And I said, I'm looking like, huh? And she said, I don't even like your ass, but on the strength of, she's like, underworld is her domain. And she said, but the other realms, they fuck with you heavy, beings that she got go through and beings that she got packs in and her sisters and stuff. She's like, they fuck with you. So off the strength of them, if they gave you the good word, whatever, you could rock. If they fuck with you, what can I do? They got better even judgment than me. That's how she was pretty much saying it. She's like, how do you mind them? They fuck with you. They riding it out with you. And I had asked her, I said, is this all telepathic? I said, well, why don't you like me? And she said, she said, you're too soft. Like, you too soft with men. You too gullible. You too naive. Like, you're too emotional. Like that's what she felt, like this was a female energy with an extremely intelligent, sophisticated mind. Like, I mean, she was like literally coming up with all these different technology. It was just technology every fucking where, like all these different, and she was the beings that's giving this shit to humans, but they give it out in doses and based on deals and packs, and they give it out in doses, but also she's upset because she's like, these motherfuckers not even listening to us. She said, we about to roll down on these motherfuckers because they violating so many treaties. Like these humans that's hijacked the shit because they like to work with certain, even some of the melanated people, the bloodlines that some of the corrupt ones in the 14th bloodline. Like, yes, we have 14 bloodline, but we have some corrupt niggas too, right? And she said, even when we working with some of the black Naga 33, they gonna at least follow the contract. They gonna follow the treaty when we give them the technology. They gonna roll it out. But she said these motherfuckers, like I guess like she ain't name no names, but I could only imagine it's the people that stole inventions from me, even, like these white motherfuckers, like the people that's just stealing, just trying to keep power, and because their time is up and because their treaty is ran out, I guess they getting so desperate they doing anything for power. And she said they not even listening to even the deities on them contracts. They like violating, they stealing technology even from the Babylonian deities, or misusing the technology for money, or they misusing the technology and test it on humans to enslave humanity without testing it properly, just for money. And it's illegal in their eyes. Like, even though those Babylonian deities, they don't like humans, they don't meddle in your affairs, and they don't want to kill you off. It's like, whatever deals we can get, whatever, keep it moving. Because they do bring them souls. They do bring them souls. They do. And so that's kind of, the way they get the energy or whatever. But even she said she said they ain't even following that. She said, we about to run down on these motherfuckers because they sitting there just wanting to be so desperate to evolve in technology, but steal technology, and they don't have a proper understanding of what they're doing with that technology. It's like they're not intelligent like an Atlantean. They're not intelligent like a Nagas. They're not intelligent. And that's how, I mean, people can get mad at me for saying that, but it's like they're not intelligent enough or even honorable or have enough integrity enough to deal with AI, to understand, to use it properly. Like everything is about enslavement, control, and even Babylonian deities, as much as, you may say they corrupt or whatever, they not even on that type of time. And like, it's like, well, that's what they're doing. And again, it's not all of humanity doing that. We're talking about that small group of people that know their time is up and that's going through anything, stealing technology, targeting the royal bloodlines, targeting certain, just doing anything to just hide the power of certain bloodlines, but take it, but also hide the fact that they are illegitimate and they not intelligent, and they steal, and they have to steal, kill, and destroy just to stay on top. And even in the Babylonian deities' eyes, is like, if you got to do all that to stay on top, you don't deserve to be on top. And that's coming from the Babylonian deities of the underworld, let alone say a 45D Nagas, or even a being from 125D, an angel, from say even a seraphim, which are fire-breathing dragon angels, right? Part of the 9 choir of angels. A lot of people don't know that, but they're serpentine, dragon, like fire. There's a lot of fire in them, and seraphims. And they are one of the highest ranking. They're the closest to God. People don't know that. It's just something you can go and study yourself. You have to be probably a scholar, a religious studies scholar, to understand that. But they, those beings are highly intelligent, and they feel the same way. If you gotta steal inventions and bury ideas and copy, then you illegitimate. You're illegitimate. That's just common sense. If you stealing that much and copying that much and scared and trying to kill somebody off and kill humanity off, then you don't deserve to be in power. What are you hiding? That's how anybody that's with common sense would think. But also, you're on a free will planet, and so if humans are complying and consenting, then what can anybody do? All we can tell you is don't comply and don't consent, even if it means your death. Go to a higher dimension, or don't comply. Don't just go along. Just do your own thing. The government is legitimate. If they want to violate constitutions, if they want to violate your human rights, if they want to violate your spiritual rights, don't go along with it. You said they're calling it laser. Yeah, like some type of laser. Assisted fetal reduction instead of abortion. Is that what they calling it? Assisted fetal reduction with the laser? I just had this dream in 2022, Royal Deluxe. And so I don't know what happened since then, because I didn't even look it up, to be honest. I just know I had to dream about her telling me about the technology with the laser and then using it for abortion. But she said in 2022, go and tell humanity that's going to have some devastating effects on something. I guess they shouldn't be doing that, because it wasn't tested properly and it could do something to them. But I didn't go and look up the technology, is what I'm saying. I just had the dream, and that was it. She told me to go and warn humanity. I did warn them, but again, I'm shadow banned in a bitch, so it's like, I put it out publicly. It's still out publicly, but I mean, who's really gonna, like, I was shadow banned, so then maybe it got into the right hands or eyes to some of the, maybe a scientist saw it, and maybe, but I don't know. I did my part. I did wait a year or two. I think I waited about a year later to tell humanity, because I was a little embarrassed to be like, well, do I just go online and just say, hey, I was in the underworld and Saturn grabbed me and I thought I was dead. My soul was snatched out and I went down to the underworld in Rishko. And she, and then I came back and I thought I was going to have to stay down. I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Oh my gosh, God, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. But she was like, even when Saturn had pulled me down, I had felt scared. I'm scared, but I kept feeling on my higher self saying, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You ain't got nothing to worry about. Because even when she said, now go back up there and tell them. because I thought it was my time to go. I don't know what I thought. I really did. And she said, "Now go back up there and tell them." And but it was like a scream. She's like, "Now go back up there and tell them what I said. Get out of my face," just like that. Because she don't like me. She was like, "You too soft. You too naive. You too emotional." And she don't think I'm male identified because she knows I'm of the divine feminine. They giving you the chief architect title for the Council of 99. What the fuck? They chose you because like they. How are you the chief commander of the GIA? Because like honestly, it's like you have to be compassionate if the humans are heart based, you know, and they're emotional and then they're trauma filled. There's a lot of trauma. So even though I have my own issues, I'm human, I'm traumatized, I got a lot of shit going on. I'm screaming and hollering too and trying to work through my shit. I think that I would be the nicest one out of them seraphims. A lot of people think like, even if you think of like, people think Archangel Michael, you know, is so nice. Have you ever conjured that type of being? Like Archangel Michael can be an asshole, could be very mean. Now we love Archangel Michael, right? He's the big dog. He's the warrior. Like everybody love to have an Archangel Michael and had to pray or whatever. But I think humans just have a huge misconception on the angel kingdom, in terms of they think that honestly you might meet a demon that's nicer than an angel, because at least the demon you might have a transactional pact, or you may be offering something, it may be some sort of favor for favor thing, where at least the demon, it could be actually nicer to you as a human. But people automatically assume that the angel is going to be nicer, and I'm like, where the fuck do y'all get that shit from? Like, no, like um it's not that. It's weird, because it's like, for one, we may find that kind of energetic parasitic, that thinking, but then it's like nobody has to like you, or nobody has to be nice to you, of any spiritual being. And so I guess it's a frequency thing. So if we decide to fuck with you, then we fuck with you. But to assume that a certain being would just fuck with you just because, that's a weird concept to certain beings. That's weird to us. That's but that's why with me, I don't go and search for gods. Like I don't go and search. Like I've let an entity come to me. Most of the time, it has to be something I resonate with, but they have to come to me. And if I like them, then I can work with them. And if I don't fuck with them, or maybe it's not working out, I won't mess with them. Like I just wouldn't assume that me and a deity is going to click, or me and an archetype, rather, for those that are more scientific minded, me and an archetype or a certain energy is going to click or get along. I just wouldn't assume that. And I wouldn't assume that they would be nice all the time. Just like how, you as any being would be temperamental. And so I just wouldn't understand, like, when I see how people assume that an angel was going to be like some loving pie. I'm like, y'all think that about Archangel Michael? Y'all think that maybe Gabriel is more sensitive. Uriel has a very mercurial energy. It's a very logical, it's a very intellectual energy, and kind of primordial. Uriel. I'm trying to think. Azazel is actually could be technically nicer than even say like a Uriel energy, and Azazel is one of the fallen angels. Was like, really, it's weird. Like, even like, whew, we ain't gonna go all there because I know humans ain't ready for that. I was going to talk even about the energy of Lucifer, but that's a little bit too deep, because that's too heavy. But yes, to finish up with saying what I was saying, colony level tropholytic resource processing is the idea of the bee pollinating and the fertilizing the flowers in the melastema, and to get the nectar conversion to make honey, and that's the bees energy harvesting. And say for humans, that's like the same concept of sex magic and tantra. I'll just say that, especially the way of the pheromone connection, especially like, say, if you're a Nagas being and you're doing the mating ritual between a brother and a sister, those rituals, as far as like the pollination and all that, and the conversion of the energy harvesting for them, that is to activate the pheromones in the base of the spine of a Nagas being that the brother literally gets addicted to. They are addicted to it. They become obsessed with it. that allows them to protect the sister and allows them to not sell the sister, for them to not even sell each other out, whatever dimension they go to, where they can always find each other, but they could be always loyal to each other. It's designed for them to be loyal to each other. But that it doesn't mean it's bulletproof. It doesn't mean that it's always going to work. But especially if you see a brother and a sister fighting in a very toxic, ridiculous situation where they cussing each other out, doing weird things, but then still you seeing a weird psychotic addiction to one another. If they're Nagas beings, that's where that's coming from. They most likely did some sort of mating ritual before coming down in the spiritual realm, before coming down on planet Earth, or even in another past life where it has messed them up. Unfortunately, you may see that. So the concept of sex magic and tantra. So when we talk about integrated biological, ecological, and social mechanisms, that's and again, it's the concept of nectar conversion, and that's the distribution of energy. So that's when humans do sex magic rituals, and then so for us, once again, it's not a bad thing. It's just something that was supposed to be initiated for certain bloodlines. Certain bloodlines are supposed to be doing that, and we do find it weird that those rituals are being used for contracts and for deals for money. That we find abhorrent, but there is a group of people that are doing that. We hope that humans realize that they shouldn't want to use their energy that way, because it can bind entities to them. Erroneous deities most likely, and they don't really like humans. If you don't deliver on that contract, it's off with your fucking head. And that's why you see a lot of celebrities, you see even with little Nas X, what happened? He's walking down the street butt naked. He just got arrested. He was trying to fight a police officer. He took off his underwear. He went to the hospital for being overdosed, for having drug overdose. And so, when people get into those contracts or sell their souls, quote unquote, for a deal for money, and then if you don't deliver on that contract, or again, fame is not necessarily the most natural thing for a human. Some people deserve to be famous, yes, but it will come through a natural process. It comes through your natural influences and through your natural gifts, not a manipulation of energy or just to push someone up in fame. So, like, you have industry plants that just get pushed up and they don't have really no talent, like Sexy Red or something like that, or Little Nas X. Like, that's actually a very unnatural thing. It's a weird botched science for that to happen, because you have real talented motherfuckers, and they don't ever get a shake. Like, it's people that can really sing, right? People that can really play the piano, all different types of instruments, and then they don't get a shake, or they can, and then they get fucked up in a contract they didn't even need, because they didn't need the fame. They don't necessarily want the fame at that point, right? Because it wasn't a natural progression for fame, but it can handle it, and a human mind can't just handle overnight fame like that. Or fame that is based on manufactured industry plants. It's not normal. It can really fuck up their mind. And then if something goes wrong, or if they don't work on the inner man, the inner woman, and as far as their self-worth and what you see how they may act out once the fame is gone, or they get into drugs once it's gone, and all these things, or they don't know how to handle, because they never worked on the inside or the building up of the spirit, or what was really, really important in terms of being on planet Earth as a school. The evolution of consciousness, the evolution of the soul, the discovery of the soul, the playfulness of the having fun aspect. And so it could be a very unnatural process. And so unfortunately, you see a lot of the same story, even with the celebrities, because it is the contracts, the deities on those contracts, and it may be the rituals, the sex magic rituals. But then, and again, I'm not saying every celebrity does this. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that the science is based off of a Nagas version, but it's reverse engineered, and whoever got their hands on it is using it to control their light, using it to control their gifts and to make money off of it. You know what I mean? And so it's it's somebody that's got a hold of it, that is using it to energy harvest off of them. But also they're using humiliation rituals. They're making them sacrifice, they give up energy because of the weird laws of thermodynamics is fucked up, but then also the science itself has been reversed engineered, and they're not fully Nagas beings. Clearly, whoever has that science and is forcing those artists to do such a thing, or even politicians, they're not Nagas beings. If a Nagas being wouldn't make you do that shit, it's just obvious. They may be part Nagas. Somebody is clearly spiritually gifted, but also using their gifts for very demonic things. So that makes me think they're not fully Nagas. But if they are, then they're not they're probably at the 33 level and not above that. They're usually not above that, because again, people at 45D are not engaging in those practices. And then the legal loophole as far as planet Earth is to just say it's a free will planet. And as far as a treaty, but you still see some things not working out with that, because there's an imbalance of energy. There's an energy deficit, a spiritual deficit that got created. And so we talked about the intraspecific trophic behavior a little bit. We talked about the orgasm that gets released when during bee stinging. That's called endophallus release, and that's orgasmic. And so spiders and bees, they do that with each other. Like the drone bee that dies once they have sex with the queen bee, that's orgasmic for the bee. Same thing with the with the black widow spider. When the male dies after exterminating the black widow spider, and she eats them after he has his orgasm, that's orgasmic for him. But when those practices are being attempted energetically on humans, that is like satanic ritual abuse, right? That's not orgasmic for a human. It ruins them. That's how you tell that's how you can tell like the fallen angels fucked up. Like they did something where they were mixing with human, like the stuff that Nagas beings participate in. That stuff could be orgasmic for them. Even some of like you. Okay, I'll give you an example, and this is about to be real extreme. I'm not saying that Black Americans are Nagas beings. I'm not saying that. Maybe some of them are. I think a lot of them. But do you know, like my master teacher was teaching me. She would talk about like how Black Americans, sometimes the male and the female will get into like this weird fucking fight energy, where they will literally be arguing with each other, picking up, showing this frustration, like this arguing as a sexual tension thing, and then they'll go and fuck, make up, and go have sex. I forgot how I can never teach this topic as good as she do. I wish I hope I could find a clip. Maybe one day I could find a clip and I could play it. But I remember she was teaching, like she was giving us examples. That's kind of like how Baby Boy, the movie Baby Boy with Taraji P. Henson and that way Tyrese, how they were interacting. It was so toxic. It was like they were arguing, and then they go fuck. They screaming and slapping the shit out of each other, and then they go fuck. I've witnessed that even in the hood. I literally saw. I remember Tanya and my brother Sean. I remember she literally picked up a VCR and cracked him over the head with it. Like literally cracked him on the head, like boom, on the head with it. And he punched her, boom, punched her right. He punches her. The next thing you know, he leave for like maybe an hour or two. He come back, I guess, with some food, or come back with some gift or whatever. And next thing you know, they fucking in the room like nothing had ever happened. What kind of shit is that? That is crazy. But I'm saying I saw a Black woman crack a Black man in the head with a frying pan. Damn, crack in the head. He leaves. She kicks him out. They come back 3 days later like ain't nothing happened, and they go into they going out on a date or something. I've seen it's a weird, obviously it's rooted in trauma and whatnot. I'm not saying it's a healthy dynamic, but it's something that has to do with intrapacific trophic behavior. It's intrapacific trophic behavior, where you'll see, certain species where it looks like, okay, the Black widow is eating the male. The lemurs, you see how lemurs interact with each other, and lemurs, and it's another one, I'm going to say maybe it's a lemur will beat the shit out of a male. You ever see the lemur species? They will fuck up, they will fight, beat that ass, and then go fuck. So you could see this intrapacific tropic behavior even within animals. You see it literally within rams, lemurs, lions. Lions is known to the female lions is known to beat the hell out of a male lion and then go fuck them. Um, it's a weird way to flirt. It's a very but I'm telling you, you can see this in animals, but it is a weird way of flirting. You ever see a guy gets upset and then he's dogging a girl out, but he really just fucking likes her, that type of weird shit. That's something that it's intra-Pacific tropic behavior. Again, people can evolve from that, right? Like, let's be real, humans can evolve from that. But I'm saying it's something that's rooted. It's something that's it's something that kids do, of course, when they say, "Oh, the girl got cooties," but you really like the girl. The girl has cooties. The girl says that type of thing. But Black Americans do that behavior with each other. At least at least a certain level. Not all Black Americans. I want to be very clear. Not all Black Americans engage in no bullshit like that. But I'm saying, I remember my my teacher. She was like, "Yo," she's like, "Have y'all ever noticed that?" She's like, "That's some weird sexual shit. That's some weird shit that y'all." And she said she witnessed it, and she's in her 50s, and she said her whole life she been seeing. She's like, "Y'all think I don't know what that is? Y'all sitting there arguing with each other, cussing each other out, and ready to go fuck." I don't know if y'all remember this, but even in the remember they had the gender wars, and remember they would have the big towel versus the MGTOW. Black men going their own way and Black women going their own way. Save yourself, Black man. Save yourself, Black women. Do y'all remember the leaders in those movements? How they would be fussing and fighting and arguing on motherfucking YouTube, going at each other's necks, doxing each other, putting each other's business out, showing each other, "Oh, you didn't pay a child support. Oh, you got arrested. Oh, you a crazy bitch. Oh, you drank. Oh, you da." Do you know behind the scenes? And I am telling you, I know a lot of shit about this stuff because I've honestly, a lot of the pioneers of even the divestment movement, all these things, literally, Black people don't know this. I'm not going to tell these women's business by name, but this is something we all know behind the scenes. Them women was fucking them. Even we thought we the divester women's that save yourself, Black women's. These Black women that was teaching a lot of that stuff, they was fucking the niggas on YouTube behind the scenes, or talking with them and had each other on phone calls and dating. The niggas that was doing the Black man save yourself, Black men going their own way. They talking about these Black men talking about, okay, don't date this Black woman, and these Black women talking about, oh, we gonna divest, but they behind the scenes fucking. The real talks, and they go on YouTube screaming at each other. You bitch, and that's why no man don't want you. That's why you nappy head and all this stuff. Totally psychotic, totally ridiculous. And they were fucking behind the scenes. And I'm telling you for 100% fact that I know this to be true. I know this for a fact. Because I was always behind the scenes, but even when all that shit was going on with that gender war stuff, I knew a couple of people that, people would know each other behind, and people would relay information. Oh yeah, what is she doing? She talking about it. And it was shocking. Someone, because it was just like, what? Like, and then, with me, I didn't necessarily gossip about the women, but I remember some women would try to gossip to me. And I remember they were like, see, she's doing all this. She's talking about that investment. She's talking about this. She ain't about that life because she ain't even really about it. If she's talking to so-and-so, man, I would give out some names, but that's just messy. And I don't need no smoke, no more than smoke than I got now. But how is she talking to so and so? But she's so called as divested. But she was talking to one of the dudes that was really pushing that MGTOW shit. Some of them, that's just like how Tommy Somewhere was talking all that shit and was constantly with some big booty bitch. It's just like it's weird. It's a weird freaking dynamic. But what my teacher told me that's called intrapacific tropic, it is, and you could find it in the actual animal species, but amongst lemurs. I'm trying to think because I know I'm missing a couple. I know spiders do it. I know sometimes bees do it. It's another species. I want to say it's like an antelope. but I think it might be an antelope or the gazelle. One of them species. I gotta go get my book again because I wrote about this in the book. Gorillas don't do it. Gorillas are very evolved in their social dynamics, so they don't be doing all of that. Elephants don't really either. They don't really do all that bullshit either. Like it's not, I'm not saying every animal does this, but the ones that do, it's funny as hell. Like it's funny as hell to watch, and it's funny as hell to learn about, especially the lemurs, how and I mean it's a group of women that will jump just a male. They will jump him, and then they will each take turns fucking him. In the animal kingdom. They would jump his ass, beat him good, punch, beat him. The lemurs, and he taking an ass beating, and then the girls will fight each other. The lemurs will fight you to see who gonna get dick first. And he's sitting there looking like, what the fuck? I feel bad for the lemurs. I'm glad I ain't no motherfucking lemur. But it's interesting to watch certain dynamics. And so again, when this translates to like SRA, when it starts to turn into satanic ritual abuse and stuff, that ruins a human though. Because something that's orgasmic for say Nagas or certain species and insects, that's like torture to a human. It's like looking at human like an insect, and so I don't think it's okay, to see that dynamic. That's why I say probably the Black Americans that is engaging in that shit, they probably are hybrids or part Nagas, because for them to get this arousal out of it, or it's orgasmic to them, that lets me know that they are more interdimensional in terms of probably having a lot of that Nagas bloodline. But again, I do in my heart think it's inappropriate for a human to be doing SRA on each other. Again, when male spiders or something, when bees do that, that's that part of that comply or die policy. And that's the same process when drone bees bring pollen to the queens. They don't know any other science but to comply or die, because that is the way their organisms in the colony survives. And so that's real in nature. If the bees don't pollinate, they die, right? But comply or die policy is not going to work for humans. Now, Atlanteans, like say if you were to part Nagas, you have some of the Atlantean epigenetics, that probably works between them, but that they can't mix that in with a human. And so that's where the humans that doing this, they stole that from the science, Atlantean science, but also from like the Lion of Judah. Also sometimes do these engages in some of those behaviors, depending on your rank. Okay. But complying is orgasmic for certain species, not necessarily humans, but we're talking about, when we say comply or die science, we're talking about the ways in which you pollinate, procreate, have sex, or the way in which a female dominates a male. That's different for certain species. When the queen bee, the drone, when the black widow and the spider, they look forward to it. It gives them a rush. But when Atlanteans does this to each other, okay, that may be fine too. But if Atlantean does that to a human, or we call it Nagas does it to a human, I'm using it interchangeably, by the way, it hurts them. It's kind of like a dog biting your arm or getting stung by bees. It doesn't feel orgasmic, right? And so royal bloodlines engage in that type of behavior. But when we say what makes a person royal, we're talking about their epigenetics in terms of their relation to the Nagas beings. Some it's Nagas 33, but there are beings that, again, there are humans there are beings that are 45D. 125D. Now there are humans that can get up there. Now, even those Black American humans that had got up to 45D, they're clear as day hybrid, right? They're highly evolved. They believe in holiness. They're priests, but they wouldn't have been able to get up there to talk to no 45D Nagas beings if they weren't part Nagas. If they were part, maybe they're part of, maybe some other species. I know Lemurians are pretty high level. Pleiadians are pretty high level, but they had to have been some sort of hybrid, right? And then they realized that there are other humans down there. They were relaying it. That's when I told you how it was kind of like telephone, but imagine like a telephone that's going interdimensionally, descending from a higher dimension to a lower dimension, and then relaying a message that way because they're speaking in a different language or even telepathically, but then there's a language that's getting translated and it has to get translated back all the way down to English. You go to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7D. It has to go to English when you get on planet Earth, in America at least. Obviously, we're talking about America. So I think the process, if it's other beings in different countries that speak a different language, somebody has to translate it to that language, whether it's a Spanish or a Sanskrit, whatever it is, Chinese. They would do that same process, and you'll have other beings that can translate it interdimensionally, going from telepathy, going from whatever the intergalactic language is, speaking in tongues, pretty much your mother tongue, but not just like a language that's on planet Earth. There's other angelic languages that people can speak. There's the movie talk about speaking in tongues and whatnot, and how you have to have somebody interpret that. That's in the Bible. So I'm not even saying nothing that's just crazy. It's like it's literally for those who understand, like in Acts. Matter of fact, let me look it up because that's actually interesting to me now because I just remembered that. Speaking in tongues. Or was it Corinthians? Okay. Should speak at one time, that someone must interpret. If anyone speaks in tongues, they don't interpret it. But how did speaking in tongues come about? A miraculous sign of the Holy Spirit presence and power. See, and when we talk about the Holy Spirit, for those that are of Hebrew bloodline, when Jesus said, "Oh, I leave my Holy Spirit," yeah, we talking about some interdimensional shit. Okay, and we see the Holy Spirit as this. As again, we talk about Shekinah, that's a feminine spirit. But remember how I was saying how some species look at that as like a grandmother figure. That's true. At Pentecost, okay, Acts 2 is described as the ability to speak in another languages previously unknown to the speaker as the Spirit enables them. This phenomenon is linked to the beginning of the church and has the expansion of the gospel message. Okay, so this is Acts 2, the day of Pentecost. The Holy Spirit descends upon the disciples and they begin speaking in other languages, astonishing a crowd of Jewish pilgrims from various nations who hear them speaking in native. Yeah, there we go. I knew I wasn't tripping. Yep. Desire for unity. See that some people just be making up. They added that part because again, this is bloodline. I think it's kind of offensive. That's why they talk about the Gentile and all that stuff. There was just a factions within the Hebrew bloodline in terms of interpretations of laws and even behaviors and even mixtures of like some of the Commission science that's made its way into the bloodline as well, and even again how the rift between the nobility between those bloodlines and how they sought to even enslave one another, start to do the okey doke on one another and violate one another, which descended people considerably. And then even some of the mixtures, like some people wanted to keep more of the bloodlines pure. Even if you were going to teach some of what they call Gentiles, or whatever, if you wanted to teach them information, that's one thing. But it doesn't mean you were going to mix your DNA with them. It didn't mean you were going to mix with them. And then there were some species that were doing that, and that I also, I think there was a disagreement within the factions with that as well. You said, not gonna lie, that's romantic as fuck to me. Really? I take it you're talking about the trophylactic what's it called? The intro specific trophic behavior. Are you talking about that? I think for me, it's something I want to evolve from, but I have I remember screaming and hollering at it, and then you're cool again, then you're going to fuck or whatever. I haven't engaged in that behavior in a long time, but I remember, and it's kind of, to me, it's something I would want to evolve from, but it's definitely something that I don't have experience with. He said colas are nasty. They give each other STDs. Wow. Did y'all hear about the way them dolphins do? Them dolphins have straight up orgies. They do straight up motherfucking orgy parties, dolphins. And they are attracted to humans. So you gotta be careful. Dolphins will grape you. You know how many humans get raped by dolphins? And by that, I'm talking about forcing sexual intercourse. No lie, look it up. Dolphins are very horny. They have full blown orgies, orgy parties with each other. A lot of dolphins are bisexual, and they are attracted naturally to humans, and they will hump you. And they know how to do it in such a way where you will not drown. Your head will be above the water, and they will fuck you and then throw your ass on and keep it moving, spank your ass and tell you to keep it moving, and you won't drown. They perfected that because I don't know what that's about, but you better look it up. They be careful. Dolphins are known. They're very horny creatures, naturally very sexual creatures. Dolphins, very very sexual. He said, "Sounds like a Latina, a lemur." You mentioned the angels were any of them pink rain and crystal women shade. I don't know if pink. I'm not from. I don't know what pink rain means. The crystal women shape. Well, from what I understand, and don't. From what I saw, like don't a lot of humans. See, I think that the crystal thing. I think that applies to humans too, at least frequency wise. It's something where it's something in the essence of the humans as far as their energy, their blood. At least it's something that is like a crystal. I think I don't know if you're talking about when you say crystal women shape, and I do think there are some angels that have a lot of crystal energy too. It's something I don't know if it makes them a crystal shape, but there's something in the frequency of crystals that's in the blood um of Nagas beings, but also humans as well. You said dolphins are insane. Yeah, they are. I'm telling you, your head will be above the water too. You won't drown, but they'll be fucking away. You know how they get the fucking hey, they'll be fucking you right where your private parts are is too, and you'll be bouncing up and down, and you trying to get away, and you can't get away. You will not be able to get away. And when they done, and I'm telling you, it's research on this. They ejaculate. They'll literally ejaculate or have their orgasm, and then your ass, and then they'll just throw your ass, and you go swim away. You going to swim away and a dolphin walk away. You know how dolphins smile. They could smile. The dolphins be having that little teeth, and they be laughing, and that's how they'll be walking away. They be looking at you. But I guess back in them days, like dolphins and humans had a very, very close connection. They used to deliver babies. They used to play games together. Dolphins used to fish for humans. They used to literally throw fish up on the boats for humans. Like they would know when the humans was coming. But humans didn't have to actually fish back in the day, like thousands of years ago. Like humans would just go get in a boat, and dolphins gonna throw up them fish on that boat. The dolphins was going to deliver your babies. You didn't have it right. The dolphins were going to, like real shit. Go look this up. And so I guess that extended to sex too. The dolphins going to tap that ass. And so I think of maybe back then, humans were humans thinks differently, especially like a 45 dB human or a human of a really high level is probably going to think differently around the concepts of sex with the dolphin and the way the close relationship with the dolphins. I'm pretty sure the humans was probably going in the water just for that. Nowadays, they not doing that though. They just trying to mind their business, but the dolphins probably still like, hey, I like your ass, That's probably the concept of where the mermaids came from. Shit, it's something to it. A lot of people believe that mermaids are real. See, I don't get into all of that, but I think that shit, what do I know? Anything can happen these days, so I don't knock what people, a lot of Haitians, you can't tell a Haitian that a mermaid ain't real. You can't tell certain African tribe. I think one of them tribes in Benin, you ain't gonna tell them that no motherfucking mermaid ain't real. Because they swear they saw them. So shit, black people be seeing, even if it's just a frequency thing, even if it's just an interdimensional thing that they saw something that's like somebody seeing a ghost or something, like maybe it is some shit like that. So I seen a woman made of millions of pink crystals. It looked like water was flowing over the crystals, making a shimmering water look okay. I believe that. See, I could see how that could be. Because I do know it's something in that blood that will turn to crystals at a certain frequency. So you probably was seeing her real frequency. And I do think that it's something that can make the humans look like a bunch of crystals. I do believe I did hear something about that too. I heard something about that. It's not a foreign concept to me. He said I heard dolphin birth increase your yes, I heard that too. That's why the humans used to do it. Oh, Tay is in the building. Hey Tay. That's why dolphins used to do it. Ty, rather. I kept saying Tay. Ty. You said getting a Poseidon on. It's all types of stuff going on. Like I said, I'm open minded. I don't know. Um, the dolphins, and people could go visit dolphins. They got these places where you can go visit them dolphins, like in St. Kitts and shit like that. Where you can go swim with them and whatnot. So that's why a lot of humans swim with them. But it shouldn't be something. Once again, everything is about profit. You got to go pay entry fee to go swim with some dolphins and go pet the dolphins and feed them fish. And it's a weird thing. But all in all, humans always had that special connection with dolphins. It was actually there's a American Indian tribe that's literally named after dolphins, right? I think it's one of the Shinnecock. Was it Shinnecock? I can't remember. She was black. She was American Indian, but she would go by black. Um, she was telling us, so she was showing us her Indian gear, her tribal card, and all these things. But she was saying that they're the people of dolphins. One of them tribes' names it translated to like something with a dolphin, and she was saying historically and generationally they always been connected with the dolphins. I guess wherever this tribe was, it might have been off of the coast of some ocean or something. And so she was saying that they always would swim with dolphins, be with dolphins. Like that's why her tribe was named after dolphins. So it was really interesting. And he said, I'm going to do a background check on dolphins. Yeah, they something else. Actually, I want to look into let me see, dolphins raping humans. It's like a okay, so they say sometimes the dolphins get lonely too. That's why they can do that. Protect wild dolphins, debunk a popular myth. Okay, let's see, dolphins, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Oh yeah, but when they say like, can a dolphin really commit, you know, what's it called, forceful sexual intercourse? Um, you know, the sexually frustrated dolphin that's what they call it, sexually frustrated dolphin. Dolphin, as you can see, look at this dolphin is, and dolphin really commit. Somebody even made a song about it. Dolphins rape people. But here's the thing, they don't see it as that. And again, I don't think that they're sexually frustrated. Why I say that? Because dolphins are social creatures and dolphins have full-blown orgy parties a lot. I don't know. I think that that's just they just sexual. And I think that they're attracted to humans. And I think that at one point humans and them had a relationship where that was just kind of par for the course. And I think humans may have translated that as, oh, this human likes me. You know how a dog will hump your leg? Dogs hump legs all the time. And so I think that at one point, they might have saw it the same way. I think that's how, especially a lot of melanated people, I think they just saw it as, okay, the dolphin likes me. I don't think they thought of it as like sex, and I don't think they thought of it as, oh, I'm getting raped. I just think they thought that it's the same thing as when a dog humps a human leg. I think that's how they looked at it. I could imagine. It's still odd even to talk about, at least. Um but I think I'm gonna end it there. I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about in relation to that topic. But I do I want to cover? I know I wanted to cover. I want to do music. 'Cause I wanted to do movie night. I want to do a little bit of movie night. But it is kind of late, and I gotta check. I had I had some slow cooking chuck going on, some slow cook chuck. I gotta go check that and see how that's going because I had it on for 4 hours, but it had beeped a minute ago. So I don't think it's done. I'm not sure, but I gotta go check on that and see. And maybe what I'll do is I'll play some music and then maybe and in the spirit of uh Nagas, I actually want to play a song that I, I really feel that it does something to Black people's pineal gland, or I would say it's something that is in this song that is extremely Nagas to me. I saw some codes in here that lets me know exactly who the bloodline that some of these people in this room are part of. I'm not going to talk about it though. I'm not going to talk about the parts because some things it just requires the frequency to get it. You know, sometimes you just have to let people ascend to a certain frequency and then they see it and they catch it and like, whoa. Because I listened to this thing, this set about 10 times and literally did not see was not at that frequency to see the codes until literally like a couple of weeks ago. And when I saw it, it shook me. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like this Lion of Judah thing. There's some truth to it. It's a bloodline thing, and it is something where it's a frequency that you have as far as recognizing one another and caught it. And so I want to play this song. This is not the code that I'm talking about. Like it's other things in this video that let me know. Like okay, this is what this is. But when it comes to this particular song, it's something. It just gives me a very Nagas vibe. Like it's just something I instantly like. I play it literally over and over again. I've never been so attracted to a sound. Whereas like it's something in the pineal gland that's just like you ever see how the cobra be moving with the frequency. It's like it's literally something that's just like it puts you in a trance. It's really freaking fascinating because I'm like, and if somebody knows the name of this beat or this song or where can I find it so I can just play it on repeat over and over again. I just love it. I love it. I would be so happy because I don't know the name of this part of this song, where to find it. But if someone else knows, like that would be great because this is a DJ set, you know. And so I'll play this. Um, I think I'll play this. And if we're going to do the movie, obviously we have to remove it from damn YouTube. But this, you know, when we talk about the extraction of the bees from the humans getting the bees from the honey, this is how the overlords view how they are getting energy from humans. That's why they literally see it the same way. And so bees, you know, pollinate. Let me just type that in real quick. Bee pollinate flowers. That's how they see. Let me see. Bee pollinate flowers. And then let me try to turn this on with nectar. That's how they see it. It's a very non-emotional thing, but again, what we're saying is that it's not. They shouldn't be doing that because it hurts humans. It's not naturally a natural process. That's why the Bible say angels can't mix with humans. So that's that. And that's the way that bees get they're extracting energy right there from the flowers. And so that's why when we talked to the 45D being who was doing it to humans, this was his justification for it. And we're like, wrong answer, buddy. But from the mind of a child angel, we understand why he thought that because it's like it's extremely. I mean, we understand it's a very logical approach, but it's like you know better. No. You know better. Do the work. You have a higher responsibility than the average. You're not a fucking animal. You're not an insect. That was our answer. Stop torturing your sister. That was just like that. But I'm about to play this for you guys. But this gives me. I'm telling you, when I hear that song, this part of the song, I love it. So please, if somebody knows the name of the song, if you can just help me out, so I can listen to this over and over again, because this is a DJ set, and so I think we only get like a minute of it, and then it goes to the next song. So I'm going to play it. I want to rewind just a little bit. I'll tell you when it starts to play. So this is where it starts, and this is the song that I'm talking about. You can even see like some of the melanated people, the way they reaction to it. Like, it's something in this song that is it's something. The first thing I instantly think of is Uraeus, Cobra. It's something to this song that he's doing, like, because he's a master magician of music. You know, he understands music at a higher frequency, at a higher level than people. See him right here. You know, only fun. And you see this black person, like, I'm just telling you, just look at the melanated people, how they just start moving certain things he start doing with the frequency of this song. You start seeing them. I'm telling you, watch this black guy right here, on the side of him right here, and then look at this black guy right here. His movements right there. This, I don't know if y'all can see my pointer on the screen. I don't know if you guys can see it. But I'm gonna do it again and pay attention to this melanated person right here, and the way they energy shift as he's playing this song. Now, their energy wasn't doing all that before, you know, he started playing this, but it's something in this damn song. You see how you just started? This one right here started moving. You know what? You know, because tall black guy, he's I think I suspect that he's part indigenous and a part royal more royal and I got a feeling that I wonder if you know he's from Detroit, but I wonder if some of his bloodline comes from North Carolina, because as he's playing that part around that 39-minute mark, I'm telling you, the first thing that flashed on my head was Nagas in North Carolina. Nagas in North Carolina. Royal, like it's something to that. I know I'm not tripping. I'm like, again, there were some other codes that let me know clear as day, boom, and I saw it. I'm not going to talk about everything I saw throughout this. This is a 54-minute video, but when I saw certain things, I was like, whoa, like it is something frequency wise that he knows how to do with music. This man understands the art, you know, this, you know, DJ, and there's an art to it. I think I don't know nothing about DJ as far as none of these buttons or what they doing with them buttons and them machines and nothing. I ain't gonna act like I know because I don't. But there is a certain craft with this. It's a certain science to putting that stuff together, and it's like he understands something to do with frequency. And this whole 54-minute set was really high frequency, you know. And I'm gonna play it again, but again, I want you to watch the two melanated people's reaction, like they playing it, you know, and then he just did they the only one. Look at they dancing and they moving compared to everybody else in the room. I mean, people is vibing. Don't get me wrong, people vibing, but like it's like only this. It's only a couple that's just that really that it just where they dancing like that, you know, moving with the music because it's something in that little that little whistle, but then it's that it's something with that little rattle thing, that little sound. It's something to it. I don't know how to explain it, but I really, I mean, I'm telling you, I literally rewind this. I have sat all day listening to this to that part and just kept rewinding it while I'm working on stuff and doing other stuff, reading or whatever, because it's something that really puts it relaxes an aspect of my mind. It really does. It's really weird. Okay, so am I in the mood to do movie night? We're gonna have a treat on Wednesday. We gonna get real deep on Wednesday. We're gonna get real deep on Wednesday. Yeah, let's do movie night today. We're gonna watch The Prince of Egypt. And there's some things in the Prince of, do I want to do all that? Because I have to stop and actually teach some things from the Prince of Egypt. I actually do. Maybe we'll do that on let me see, how long have I been on here? 2 hours. Yeah. You know what? Because with Prince of Egypt, I actually still have to kind of be in teaching mode because there are some things, you know, we have to talk about the difference between the nano levitation and magnetic levitation versus actually having Hebrew slaves build. You know, they show like some of the slaves and building the structures in the Prince of Egypt, the movie. I'll have to explain that, and then there's some other parts that I have to let's see. So I'm not in teacher mode right now. I actually want to chill. You know what? So maybe we can watch The Golden Goose. 'Cause I did want to watch The Golden Goose, but we still gonna have to take that off of YouTube if we do Happily Ever After. I wanted to play that with the more because I know I'm going to cover something on the Moors on Wednesday, and I noticed that Happily Ever After is the first that HBO show that used to come out when we was kids. The first thing I get from that, they had to have been, 'cause that show is like, I'll show you. Let's see, HBO Happily Ever After. Let's see, I have a subscription to it. I bought it. Here we go. And I'm not gonna play it, but I want you to see, like, remember how black this show was, like, growing up? Like, let's be real, like, this show was extra black, right? They had some Native Americans and then Asians and Latinos too. But like, look how this show. As I grew up watching that show, I had started watching the show again, even as an adult. Like I'm 33, and I'm telling you, like the first thing I said a Moor, somebody that was a Moor, but that was into heavy craft, witchcraft. A Moor made this show. I mean, it was so obvious, and sometimes I can't even. The show is so heavy with code. It's so heavy. It's like, whew. Um, I could tell instantly. I'm like, it's just so obvious. I don't, it's like whoever was the writers for this show, whoever, it's so obvious that it was a Royal Moor that put this show together. And you can see some of the progression of it, but it's like it's laden with like heavy messaging. And so I wanted to show the Golden Goose, but I want to play it as far as the appropriateness. I wanted to play that for Wednesday and do Prince of Egypt today. But then it's like I would have to be stopping and teaching certain things. And so I'm trying to think how I want to do that. So if we play the Golden Goose on Wednesday, you know what? We could do this. We'll do this now because I don't have to teach stuff out of this one too. I have to break down codes in the Golden Goose. Uh, um, trying to think. Maybe I just hit my ass off here then. Um, was it music? I know we got Empress Ra here. I want to play some. We could just do some. We could just gonna do some music tonight. We just gonna do some music. We'll do Empress Ra and and this guy. We'll do him. We'll do them. Yeah, we'll do them for the night. Cause that way I ain't gotta teach and I can just chill and have it playing. Cause I gotta check my meets. Yeah, we're gonna do them today. And I'm gonna take this. Where did I do it? Oh, it's over here. But I'm gonna remove this off of YouTube though right now. I'm gonna take this off of YouTube, but we'll just do music tonight because I really don't feel like that stuff. I gotta actually sit and teach and be pausing and all that, and I don't feel like doing that right now. I ain't gonna go hold you. So if you on YouTube, if you wanna vibe to put to some music with us, we gonna still be on X. So if you guys wanna vibe to some music for a little bit, we're gonna be listening to Empress Ra and I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's STL Drums, so St. Louis Drums. How do you pronounce his name? Is how it's spelled? STLNDRMS. That's like I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I would love to give the correct pronunciation of his name. I just don't. I wouldn't know how to pronounce that. It looks like a bunch of letters to me, so it makes me think maybe it means St. Louis Drums. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's just a bunch of letters. STLNDRMS. What does that mean? But he's an excellent DJ nonetheless. I love his sets too. So I don't mean it to be disrespectful. I just hope that I can get that pronunciation of his name. But we're gonna listen to that. We're gonna vibe out to that for the night and wrap that up. So if you're on YouTube, I appreciate you stopping by. I know we had Ty in the building. We had Royal Deluxe in the building. I know we had who else was here? I'm going to Terraform. I'm going to Terraform and Destroy. Okay. We had them in the building. I don't know their gender yet. And so we're gonna get up off here. God bless you guys. But we still gonna be on it. So come through if you want to vibe to some music with us. So move that.